So quiet. I didn't even have to ask anyone to silence their devices, so good morning, everyone. Appreciate it. We just had a wonderful breakfast meeting at the Military and Veterans Campus in Franklin, thanks to Councilor Kenny, and it's excellent to see what's happening there. And I want to welcome everyone to this meeting, and I would like to start with Councilor Kenny. Of course, thank him for his service in the Marines, and he's going to be leading us in prayer today.
Thank you. All rise, please. Find my prayer notes. First of all, before we get to say a little prayer, I would just like to mention that we have an island nation of Jamaica that was just hit with a Category 5 Hurricane Melissa. And for many of us who represent, the Lakes region, we know that a lot of the business owners hire Jamaicans during the summer. And as reports are coming in, many of those housekeepers and servers have totally lost their houses. They've been just flattened down. And so I just want you to think of them in your prayers, any contributions you can make to the Red Cross, because this is a truly once in a lifetime storm for Jamaica, and it really devastated the nation. So with that, let us pray. We thank you for bringing us here today, Father, for the chance to work, to serve, and to make a difference. As a singer, MC Hammer once says, we've got to pray just to make it today. And Lord, that's what we do. We pause to seek your wisdom, your guidance, and your strength in all that lies ahead. Help us to act with integrity, to listen with compassion, and to lead with purpose. Bless our discussions and decisions, and keep us united in our goals and grounded in your grace. In your holy name we pray, amen. Thank you.
Amen. And now Commissioner Scott will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we are very fortunate to have some excellent entertainment today. Colby, Rose, and Ethan Laffey will be performing for us today. And Colby is Megan Rose's son, so as I said this morning at the breakfast meeting, clearly the talent is in the family, so we look forward to it.
My name's Colby. My name's Ethan. The three songs that we have prepared today are all originals, and the first song that we'll be starting off with is called Pure Gold. Spirit go. The second song is called Keep Breathing. The third song is Crash Out. Crash Out? Okay. Yeah.
You watch
have been another person in your life story. Words I said into my head again and again. Words I said into my head again and again. Again and again. Visions blurred, maybe I'm stuck. Sometimes I just need myself to pick me up. And I know you're leaving for the last time. When you're sitting at the stoplight, about how I got the words I said into my head again and again. Words I say come to my head again and again. And again and again. Step away, tear it down, gonna crash out.
In the future say, I remember when we were sitting in this governor's council chamber and we heard them play. So, can I get a picture of you?
Yeah. That's what they do.
And proud mom has to join in. Yeah.
Megan, you got it.
Awesome. And fantastic. We got everyone, we got Megan. Where's Megan? Right. Most importantly, the mom, the proud mom. Exactly.
All right, eyes on me, 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
All right, that's what it's really good.
And now we are going to be recognizing two exceptional citizens. And I want to thank Councilor Kenny for raising their names to us, and we appreciate it. The first one we're going to recognize is Deputy Commissioner of Education, who has done a tremendous job for the state, and before that, serving in Manchester and dedicating her life to education. So Christine Brennan. If Christine's here, I hope.
Governor, I'm going to have the Commissioner of Education and Deputy to kind of come up and help us out here for here. Here they come. So, the Deputy Commissioner of Education, Christine Brennan, is a constituent of mine and someone who's devoted her life to education. Started out in Manchester as a first grade teacher and has done so much throughout her career for not only for Manchester but for educational systems throughout the state. And I just thought she's having some health problems these days that it might cheer her up if we delivered her proclamation. She's retiring, and we wish her well, and we want to thank her for all the work she's done for kids, parents, the school system, and so forth. So I'm just here to say a few words.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Councilor Kenny. And we really appreciate her service to the state and wish her the very best. She's a tremendous public servant. So thank you, Commissioner, for being here to recognize Christine Brennan. Whereas Christine Brennan began her distinguished career as a first grade teacher in the Manchester School District in 1987, eventually serving as a literacy specialist, assistant principal, and principal, roles in which she consistently advanced innovation and student success, And whereas Christine's leadership at Beach Street School transformed one of Manchester's largest elementary schools through personalized instruction models, technology upgrades, and improved learning environments that reflected her commitment to providing every child with a strong foundation. And whereas since 2017, Christine has served with great dedication as Deputy Commissioner of Education, where she's played a critical role in implementing key statewide initiatives, including the Council for Thriving Children, the Governor's Task Force on Child Abuse and Neglect, play-based kindergarten and vocational rehabilitation programs, and whereas Christine's tireless advocacy for students of all backgrounds and her passion for celebrating exceptional educators has left a lasting mark on education policy and practice throughout New Hampshire. And whereas the state of New Hampshire expresses its sincere gratitude for Christine Brennan's decades of public service, her compassionate leadership, and her unwavering belief in the power of education to transform lives. Now therefore, I, Kelly A. Governor of the state of New Hampshire, do hereby commend Deputy Commissioner Christine Brennan upon her retirement and thank her for a lifetime of meaningful contributions to our state. And let me just add that I want to pass on the gratitude of my family as well, because one of the things, my husband Joe is a math teacher, and he's gotten to know Christine through the process of helping choose the Teacher of the Year award, and he's just really appreciated her help and guidance and her leadership in that. So please, we wish her the best, Commissioner. Will you pass this along to her, and thank you.
Yeah, Governor, thank you. I want to also acknowledge Christine. She's done a tremendous job for the state, but also in my district. She's well-loved, well-respected, and she's what a teacher should be, and I'm wishing her all the best in her next endeavor and her health. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. And we are also going to recognize today the Mayor of Dover, Robert Carrier. And so, is the mayor here too, or you're speaking for everyone today?
I'm speaking for everyone. I just wanted to say just a few words, because I represent Dover, and when you're from a small town, Wakefield, and you're now representing the big city of Dover, it's like, oh my God, you went to Spalding High School, you used to fight the Dover Greenway in basketball games, soccer games, and so forth. So, geez, what are they going to think about me when I get to Dover, And so, but Bob Curry was just so inviting and so gracious as a new incoming executive councilor to that part of the state. He welcomed me with open arms. He showed me around. He explained to me some of the issues, and he truly is considered Mayor Bob in Dover. He is, from a councilman to the mayor, to his lifelong commitment to the city, and also to the people that I've interacted with over the years. They've always said the best things about Bob Curry, and I know Dover's going to miss him, but I'm sure they'll have other things to do in the community. But I just wanted to make sure I got recognized. I'm going to pass it over to you, Governor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. It's really an honor to have you here. Thank you for all of your incredible service, and we appreciate the partnership at the state level too very much. And so it's my honor to recognize Mayor Bob Carrier. Whereas Robert Carrier has served the city of Dover, the garrison city, with dedication and distinction over many years through his commitment to public service and civic leadership, and whereas his tenure on the Dover City Council beginning in 2008 and his elevation to mayor in 2019 have been marked by a steady focus on policy, budgeting, and major infrastructure improvements that have strengthened the city and improved the quality of life for residents. I visited one the other day. Mayor, great job. And whereas during his mayoral service, Mayor Carrier has championed key capital projects including school construction and renovations, public safety upgrades, water and sewer enhancements, and community-focused amenities like a new skate park and parking garage, while personally chairing building committees for the new Dover High School, the police station, and garage. And whereas he has consistently emphasized transparent leadership, working collaboratively across committees, commissions, and community groups to ensure that Dover's residents have a voice and that public-private partnerships thrive. And whereas as a lifelong resident of Dover, Mayor Carrier has embodied a spirit of unity and civic pride throughout his service, demonstrating the values of good governance, community investment, and a deep commitment to the people and future of the city he proudly calls home. Now therefore, I, Kelly Ayotte, Governor of the State of New Hampshire, do hereby commend Mayor Bob Carrier for his exemplary contributions to the city of Dover. On behalf of the State of New Hampshire, I extend my deepest gratitude to Mayor Carrier for his leadership, his commitment to service, and the positive legacy he has helped build in Dover throughout his life.
Thank you very much.
Well, Governor, Executive Council, and everybody else that's here, I am honored. I'm taken back by it. Joe, thank you. Betsy, thank you. I like the music. Maybe at our city council, we could probably start doing something like that. Though I'm on my way out of the helm of being mayor. But we are a progressive community in Dover, and it's bigger than Dover. It's the whole state. And we look at that and we try to keep good decorum and positive attitudes and get a lot of leadership and a lot of volunteerism. And that's what it's all about. And everybody sitting here are volunteers. So I appreciate this today. It's really incredible. I was taken back by it. And, a couple of weeks ago, Chief Plummer says, I need you to come up to Concord. There's some kind of a meeting. And he finally developed what it was. I says, Barry, oh my gosh. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Governor, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mayor.
Alright, eyes on me. 3, 2, 1. Perfect, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, thank
We are going to move into the regular meeting right now. And let me start first by asking for a motion to approve the minutes from October 15th of 2025.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I would also ask for a motion to approve the minutes for October 18th of 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
What I would like to also move now to is all of you have signed the proclamation to lift the fire ban. And so before we have a vote on that, if anyone has any questions, we have a representative from the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources here today to answer any questions. Councilor Leopold. I think I see Director Hackett.
So thank you, Governor. As we all know, the weather pattern has changed. We have lots of moisture in the forecast. We've had some rain last week. We feel comfortable enough to recommend the lifting of a statewide ban on fires. The top 3 or 4 inches of soil is now holding moisture, and I think we're in good shape. Fire permits are still required, and we'd like to thank everyone, the public, the governor and her staff, for working with us to institute the ban, and also all the fire chiefs and fire wardens who helped us enforce the ban during this time. It was really a collective effort. We saw a marked reduction in wildfires during the time of the ban, so that was a good thing. It's not unusual with the weather patterns we've been having to have these dry, late summer, early fall patterns, so we feel like the precaution was necessary. It worked, and just want to thank you all for helping us enforce that.
Any questions? Councilor Kenny?
I just want to thank you for all your work and being conscientious along with, public safety officials and the governor and obviously the council. But does this mean river fire's on next year?
A little early for that, but
Okay.
let's get through the winter and we'll talk about river fire next fall.
Okay,
All right,
thank
thanks,
you.
Councilor.
Any other questions? I'd just like to thank you for your leadership and the whole department on this. You've been a great partner, and everyone I know, the local fire marshals and everyone working together to get you the information and members of the parks. So thank you for that.
You bet.
And I would ask then for a vote, all in favor of lifting the fire ban pursuant to the proclamation that we signed, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And what I would like to do is, even before we go to the list of civil commissions, I would like to go right to the two late items that we have that are quite urgent. And so we'll move to the back of the agenda. And those are late items B from the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of the Commissioner. And if I can combine it with late item C from the Department of Health and Human Services Division. Both are from the Division of, one is from the Division of Economic Stability and one is from the Office of the Commissioner. So is there a motion and a second on the?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Kenny?
Thank you.
Good morning, Lori Wheeler, Commissioner of Health and Human Services.
Hi, Commissioner. Thank you for these contracts and bringing forward. My understanding is probably going to be a lot of discussion at the council on these particular contracts because SNAP is really the gold standard for many low to moderate income folks that just can't, afford, really in their budget, the food that they need. So someone was giving me some statistics here that SNAP helps about 76,000 people and brings in about $154 million in state funding. And that, there's going to be some rule changes in the future, which will probably downshift some more costs onto state government, which is in the millions of dollars. But I want to know from your perspective, the actual layout of the food program with the New Hampshire food banks and how the food's going to be delivered, say the next couple of weeks. Because as I understand, and I appreciate the governor putting this, forward up front, because they're all in at noon to having a special meeting with New Hampshire Food Bank people. They understand that even our vote, waiting another, 10 minutes is important for them to jump into action to make sure that food is indeed distributed to the people in need. But where are we going? I guess that's the question. I know where we're going to go the next 2 weeks, but where are we going?
I just want to make sure I answer your question correctly. Where we're going with this contract before you right now?
Where are we going with this contract, and where are we going beyond the contract? Because it doesn't seem as though our federal delegation and others across the country want to move forward and open up the federal government. It just seems like they're stalling, they're playing, kind of brinksmanship, that ultimately people, overwhelmingly say there are certain programs that are gold standard programs. One of them is food security. And we don't mess around with that, because if they start messing around with us, we're going to start messing around with them. That's how serious that the SNAP program, food security. I know in Coas County, we have anywhere from 15 to 18% food insecurity numbers. I know the statewide average is 7.4, but it's serious, and I want to get serious about it, and I know the department's serious about it. But within this contract, where is it going, and where are we going beyond this contract?
Sure, no, thank you for the question. It's a really good question. I mean, as the department, we take it very seriously. I thank the fiscal committee yesterday for even convening to consider such an important item. And for us, it's about people and getting food that they need and addressing that food insecurity. So when we look at some of the challenges that we face without receiving that federal money, how do we make it work? We've gotten creative with being able to it's not a one-for-one, right? That's the hard part, I can't replace it, but what can we do in the department? We can increase supply of and access to for food for our SNAP participants, beneficiaries in the state. So that's exactly what this contract is designed to do. So I just want to also thank Catholic Charities for stepping up and meeting the need, because there's a lot in the contract. There's a lot that we're expecting them to do in terms of increasing local food pantries. So we already run food pantries. These would be specific for SNAP beneficiaries. So we're saying in addition to what you're already doing, New Hampshire Food Bank, with your 417 partners throughout the state, we want you to do more. And for them to say yes is tremendous. So they will be working with us and my staff to be able to say, where is the greatest need? When we look at our SNAP recipients and beneficiaries throughout the state, where is the greatest need? Now, we know that the mobile food pantries, that money only stretches so far. So how do we maximize that? And for the folks that can't get to a food pantry, how do we get them to a brick and mortar food pantry? So there's going to be that, as well as being able to help move people along. The pantry itself does not run during just business hours. It will be running evening hours as well. So creating that flexibility. It's also about getting quality food to folks. Just because folks need food and get it out doesn't mean that we're not aware of dietary restrictions and sugars and all of that. We want to be able to get healthy food out to people. So that's what the marketing they will work with us directly. So the department will do a lot of the marketing, and then the food bank will also do the marketing. So that's text, that's website, that's phone calls, that's in person, that's working with our CAP agencies and the staff in there to be able to educate people, probably even additional PR on top of that.
So I want to ask you on the second program, WIC. 3 years ago, we had major manufacturing for formula that for some reason had shut down. Mm-hmm. We had a major problem 3 years ago, and we were scrambling as a state to find formula for our little infants. Now we have a situation where the federal program is going to run out, and we're scrambling again. This time we have formula that manufacturers are making, but that we don't have the resources, for these young families who have kids that are 2 and under, to basically have the funding in order to get formula, which I understand can be $25 a container. So it's pretty costly to raise an infant, and we've all had kids. We know how they like to guzzle the formula, when they're very young. So my concern is I'm hearing that some of the field offices are going to shut down after, November 7th, but will they continue to stay open, or will they continue to provide the information that the young families need?
Yes, they will continue to stay open. We have been able to, and I explained this a little bit yesterday, that USDA is the one that gives us the appropriation for the WIC money, and we have that money, we got an appropriation late last week that will carry us through November 10th. We're hopeful to get another appropriation to do that. But even if we don't, we've gotten creative with how can we extend some of the funding that we have to be able to keep those positions in those agencies, right? Because we can get access to food, but we're going to need the staff to be able to work with families to do that. So yes, we have informed all of those agencies this morning that we will be able to do that.
Well, I appreciate your leadership on that, and as someone who's been around social service directors the last 2 days in 3 different roundtable forums, first topic on their mind was SNAP. The next topic on their mind was WIC. So these are our young families. These are the people that need food. Very important topic. I appreciate your leadership, Governor, on this, because it's that important. People want to know what our federal government is doing. What are they doing? It's impacting the public. It's impacting young families, and it could have incredible consequences down the road if we don't continue to provide a consistency level of food and access for formula, because otherwise, we'll be in dire straits. But New Hampshire will not let that happen, I'm sure. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Stevens.
Good morning, Commissioner. I followed you very closely in fiscal yesterday, and I thought you and Nathan White and the whole team did a fabulous job. So we know that SNAP on a monthly basis is about $12.6 million, correct?
Correct.
So we're going to be stretching $2 million and asking more of our partners, the 400 spread across the state. During the hearing, the $6.6 billion in USDA reserve funds was raised through food and services. That's not accessible, correct?
Correct, we received confirmation at the last week that they will not be tapping into that fund to supply the money for the November allotments.
Great, so we are using net funds, reserve net funds, to free up these general funds to get a $2 million line, correct?
Yeah, there's more of a back end on that, but we're freeing up general funds by accessing some net funds to be able to address this need, yes.
So we know, again, going back to the $12.6 million monthly budget, may we revisit net if needed to get additional revenue?
So the way that the contract is structured before you, and I'm sure you had a chance to sort of look at some of those pieces, is that we have built it in to be able to have some renewals in there. Should we go beyond the 5-week period, I believe that is specified in the contract, that we have the opportunity for 8 one-week renewals. And another point is, should the shutdown end and we get the money, then the contract would be null and void at that point, right? So we're trying to set it up that we can continue to be nimble and to respond without our own bureaucratic paperwork getting in the way and our process, and be able to do that. But the minute that shutdown ends, we'll be able to switch that over. So we're hoping that the time frame that we have in there is the time frame that we need, but I don't have a crystal ball, so.
You do a great job. It's an emergency, it's a crisis, and to our friends at the New Hampshire Food Bank, well done.
Thank you.
Councilor Wheeler.
Thank you, Colby. I have a few questions, Commissioner. How many people in New Hampshire receive SNAP benefits to help buy groceries?
So our total is about 74,000 households, and that breaks down to about 45,000 adults and 24,000 children.
And how many people in New Hampshire receive WIC benefits to help buy groceries?
I don't have that percentage off the top of my head.
13,000.
13,000. Thank you.
And how much funds come into New Hampshire to support SNAP recipients?
So the SNAP recipient budget is about 12.6 million a month, yes.
And the WIC funds, do you know that?
No, I believe it's just north of 9 million, but
Just north of 9 million.
for the year.
For the year, so you have to divide that by 12, correct?
So the $2 million of tax dollars that we are sending to the New Hampshire Food Bank will cover around 16% of the SNAP need for the month of November. Is that about right?
Yes, roughly about 16%.
And are many SNAP recipients in New Hampshire working families?
Yes, many of them are. Not all of them, but many.
So 74,000 granted staters, including 24,000 children, are about to lose funds to buy groceries in 3 days. And we've learned that 10 days after that, the program that provides food and formula to pregnant women, new mothers, and infants will also expire. I know firsthand how important WIC is because I was a single mother with an infant who needed special formula, as Councilor Kenny pointed out, expensive formula for preemies when my daughter was born 10 weeks early. And WIC made it possible for me to purchase that expensive formula that she needed to get a good start in life. The contract to provide $2 million to the New Hampshire Food Bank does not come close to replacing the $12 million that hungry families in New Hampshire would be receiving if the majority in DC would do their jobs. Recent data from earlier this year reports an overall food insecurity rate of 12% for Sullivan County overall, with a child food insecurity rate of 17.2%. These figures mean that a significant portion of the population lacks consistent access to enough food for an active, healthy life. In the month that includes Thanksgiving, a holiday centered around sharing food with family and friends, the families in New Hampshire that are most in need will have less funds to buy groceries and will have to travel greater distances at limited times to get food. This is extremely disruptive and, quite honestly, cruel. I will vote in favor of the contract today because something is better than nothing. But this is a Band-Aid, not a solution, and hungry families and New Hampshire taxpayers are paying the price.
Councilor Stephen.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the governor for her leadership. Councilor Kenny, you're absolutely correct. This is the time we need leadership, and you've shown that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions, but first I want to thank the commissioner and her staff as well. And I also, if any of you have not seen the food bank in Manchester with a hub of this outfit, you need to go see it. It is amazing. And Tom and his staff at Catholic Charities do a wonderful job. And so I want to commend them as well. So I'm not going to go much further into that. But the questions I have, Commissioner, I want to make sure you mentioned the CAP agencies. You mentioned other stakeholders. I did not hear managed care. All these individuals, many of them that are receiving these benefits, essential benefits for them, are on our managed care plans. Our managed care plans, 3 of them, cover over a couple 100,000 possibly now, and Henry could tell me the exact number. But those lives, they also each give value-added benefits for additional benefits for families that need food. This is a time that they need to step up as well. I'm sure they are. I didn't hear what they're doing. I want to make sure the department is working with those 3 MCOs, has an outreach, marketing, and detailed plan to make sure every single individual and family on their rolls is notified of this particular solution, because some of them will fall through the cracks. Many of them haven't even heard, won't even hear what's going on. They don't even read the papers. So I want to make sure that's happening, because they are the messengers that I think could bring your great message to our public. That's my first question. So
It's families first. Our priority is getting food to the families. So if that's working with MCOs, to your point.
What is the plan
working with the
with
community.
MCOs?
So you see part of the plan in front of you right now, and we'll continue to work with community partners as well as with their MCOs to increase access to and supply of.
Okay, I'm asking specifics. Just has Director Lippman been in touch with the 3 plans?
Can I answer?
We have not, I think this plan is just coming together.
Yeah.
I think we take from what you approved today and do work with them. They do have limited food programs that they do provide, and this is a time to step up and help, as you said.
I appreciate that. My second question comes down to what we mentioned this morning with the staff, and Governor, thank you for your comments about the staff. And I just want to make sure if there's going to be any implication on our great state employees, I want to make sure the council is aware of that ahead of time. And again, we might want to do something on the council side here. And I want to echo what Councilor Hill is saying too. This is not just a majority problem. This is a minority problem. This is everyone in Washington. They all need to sit down. Enough is enough. We have to stop. We have to put principle over politics. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. People need food and they need nutrition. And this is a great program that's been around for many, many years. And I support this effort, but I want to make sure that at least we know this is not a majority problem. This is a minority problem. This is a problem of all elected officials in Washington. Thank you.
I just want to say this. I want to thank Commissioner Weaver and the entire team. I see Terry Paff here. I want to thank the legislature and the fiscal committee who voted unanimously yesterday to support this item. And of course, I want to thank Catholic Charities and the Food Bank for stepping up, and all of our nonprofit partners, because New Hampshire, we work together. And I think it's a great contrast, really, to what's happening in Washington. We are here today. We are doing everything that we can. We're going to support people. We want to get that word out in the community. We're going to work with our nonprofit partners. And instead of just talking, we're actually going to get some food out into the communities. And that's what we do here in New Hampshire. That's what this is all about. And I want to thank, the incredible team at HHS for working with my office to get up and to get this done, and the legislature and every councilor here, because this is the New Hampshire way. And we're going to continue to work that way. And I'm just going to say what I've said all along. Washington needs to get their act together, because there are people who need food. And we're going to put feeding people over, the gridlock and the talking and the rhetoric because that's what we're seeing in Washington, but what we're gonna see here in New Hampshire is action. And I appreciate all of you being here. Thank you, Commissioner. And I would ask for a vote on these two items. All in favor of late item B and late item C from the Department of Health and Human Services signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to move back to the regular agenda, and first I would like to call actually briefly on Councilor Wheeler here, who's wearing a really great tie today.
Thank you, Governor. And everything we do here is so serious that I thought I'd have a little joke for you today. I was looking for a tie for dinner last night, and I found this deep in the closet. It even has floppy disks on it. So, computer screens, printers. But I wanted to really point out that the little guy on the bottom, he's still on paper. But with that, I wanted to take a moment and really highlight how we have come through this discussion of reforming the council process, not the Washington way, but the New Hampshire way. So the tie is to celebrate that. We have worked through this process to make sure that the public has easy access to all the information that we have around this table, and that there still may need to be a tweak here or there, but we're getting there.
And we're going to work together on that.
We're going to work together on that. Secondly, the council has reduced their paper probably by about 50%, and I guess I don't really want to say this, but thanks for giving us a little push, Governor.
Well, thank you for I know that we're going to continue to work on this process together, and I really appreciate, I love the tie. I saw it this morning and I said, this is the perfect tie. It's really terrific. And I look forward to working with the council because all of our goal is to serve the public, to make this as accessible and transparent, and I appreciate the work that you all do every single day. A great example is the items that we just voted on, and Councilor Kenny is the one that brought up the idea of let's do that up front. So we'll continue to work together on this. I love the progress we've made, and we'll continue to move forward.
And I just want to add to that, Governor, that any councilor who wants paper will get paper, and we just have to work out how we're going to get it from here to there. And also, this GNC contracting process remains the most transparent and the best in the country.
Yeah, and I think some of the things we're working on together make it even more so. So I appreciate that very much. Well, thank you very much, Councilor Wheeler. And now why don't we move on to the list of civil commissions. Can I please have a motion to confirm the list of civil commissions?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The list of civil commissions is approved. Are there any nominations to add to the list? Hearing none, the matter of civil commissions is concluded, and we will now move on to resignations. From the Boxing and Wrestling Commission, can I please have a motion to accept the resignation of Jay Rue from Manchester?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Now moving on to the list of confirmations. Can I please have a motion to confirm Rich Lavers from Hopkinton as the Commissioner of the Department of Employment Security?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Leo Hill?
Thank you, Governor. I wanted to say how much I enjoyed my discussion with the nominee, and I have heard from numerous people across the board that this is an excellent choice to succeed Commissioner Pottis, and so I wanted to say that on the record, and that I think this is a great choice for the state of New Hampshire.
Thank you. Councilor Kenny?
Yeah, thank you, Governor. I also wanted to express my support for Rich Laver. Primarily because he's ready. He's ready for to be commissioner. He is so ready. I'm trying to figure out who was leading the department. Was it Commissioner Kapadas or Rich Lavers? But I know who had the baklava, so that was important. But no, I want to compliment George Kapadas for mentoring him, for bringing him along. And we should do that. A lot of deputy commissioners should have George Kapadas that mentors someone, so when someone retires or moves on, that there's someone in place who can, take that transformation into that position with all the experience and knowledge as the previous commissioner had. So I want to compliment George Kapadas for bringing in an all-star, and I want to just compliment Rich for his intelligence, his work ethic, and the fact that he's going to really run that department in a good way.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Stevens.
I just would like to praise him. He worked hand in hand with Commissioner Kapadas. Together they processed more unemployment claims during the pandemic than the entire decade prior. But it's his collaborations with other agencies, namely the Department of Health and Human Services, in a nationally recognized study on child care benefits and benefits for young families, focused on the cliff effect. So he's at the forefront nationally as well, so great choice.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Stevens.
I'm just going to echo what my colleagues have said. I met with Rich, and early on when I was councilor, Commissioner Kapadas introduced him to me. There's no one at that department that is more knowledgeable and has the background, and your choice is a wonderful one. And I think it'll benefit all the citizens in our state, especially with the work requirement issues coming up, because that's the one question I asked him. And he was so prepared, and he'd been prepared back with Director Lippman the first time around. And I think he's going to accept the challenge and many other challenges. So I'm excited about having him as our councilor, as our commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of the confirmation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm Rich K. Sala of Hopkinton as the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Education?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Kenny.
Thank you, Governor. Another great selection to be our Deputy of Education. Rich, was an enlisted guy in the Marine Corps. Became an officer and made a career in the Marine Corps. And somewhere along the line, he went to law school. He ended up in Dorchester, New Hampshire. Now that's pretty rural. Has anybody ever been to Dorchester, New Hampshire? Okay, pretty rural up there. So he and his wife, family bought a farmhouse, and then he came down to the Department of Education as legal counsel, and has been there pretty much ever since. At one point served on the Board of Education, and I think he's going to be he's a really good choice, to carry on the great work of Christine Benner and to work with our Commissioner, Caitlin Davis. So I'm looking for good things for him. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor of the confirmation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No. The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm James Scully of Stratham to the Commission to study uniform state laws?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Stevens.
Again, a great candidate. One of my constituents, obviously, a graduate of the Naval Academy and former counsel to Governor Mercier. So he will be one of two attorneys on the Commission to Study Uniform State Laws. And by statute, they must file with the Secretary of State no later than December 1st preceding each legislative session. The national body, which convenes, has been in place since 1892. New Hampshire has only filed 3 reports, one in 1919, one in 1970, but we did get one in 2024. So I asked Mr. Scully, what's the status? So again, through Kaylee Dion, I was able to get the answer. So hopefully we'll be seeing more of those reports. But he's a great candidate.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm Christopher McBean of Hollis to the Independent Investment Committee?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm Nicholas J. Ashew of Lyme to the Connecticut River Valley Resource Commission?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Councilor Leopold.
Yes, thank you, Governor, for making this nomination. I know we have a couple of vacancies and holdovers on this board, so I'm really glad to see this nomination come through. And I just thought it would also be a good opportunity to ask if we can also, hopefully, or say that I'm hoping we will also see the contract for the administrative support for this Connecticut River Valley Joint Commission to come back on. I know it was on the agenda earlier this year, and I think it's important to give them, I know they've still been receiving administrative support since July, but because the Vermont folks have put in their funds, New Hampshire has not put in our funds yet, so I'm hoping we can bring that forward sometime soon. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the confirmation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The confirmation passes. Can I please have a motion to confirm Courtney D. Jones of Concord to the Board of Medicine?
So
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm Brian Paquette of New Boston to the Public Employee Labor Relations Board?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can I please have a motion to confirm John Davis of Surrey to the Site Selection Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Governor,
Counselor?
I had a great conversation with Mr. Davis on his wonderful community service and working in the forest industry, but I have to confess, he was the first person I've ever met from Surrey. So I think there's like 300 people there or something, but I had to confess because I thought I knew everybody, someone in every town in New Hampshire except for Surrey, but I do now, so I'm going to support him.
And he's a good one.
Yeah.
Yep, he's a good one.
Did anyone have any further discussion? Well, we want to make sure that every town is represented, so we love it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm George F. Valeri of Gorham to the Enhanced 911 Commission?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can I please have a motion to confirm J. Scott Davis of Guilford to the Passenger Tramway Safety Board?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Kenny.
I met Stanley Judge, who's 98, who was on the tram commission for over 60 years. And I met him at the decommissioning of the tram. And boy, he looks healthier than most 40-year-olds. And he's still a selectman up in Shelburne. But he highly recommended our candidate here, Scott Davis, because of his background, obviously. And so if he's got Stan Judge's approval, he's got mine.
Nice. Any further discussion of this nomination? Hearing none, all in favor of the confirmation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm Charles K. Reese of Deerfield to the Assessing Standards Board?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. All right, next we're moving on to the list of nominations. To the Assessing Standards Board, I nominate Scott Bartlett of Manchester. To the Assessing Standards Board, I nominate Emily Goldstein of Northwood. To the Assessing Standards Board, I nominate Thomas P. Hughes of Meredith. To the Housing Finance Board at the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority, I nominate John L. Arnold of Francistown. To the Boxing and Wrestling Commission, I nominate Bennett Stusse of Milford. To the Manufactured Housing Installation Standards Board, I nominate Randall Bouley of Milford. To the Mechanical Licensing Board, I nominate Keith Mercier of Manchester. As a Division Director at the Department of Information Technology, I nominate Bruce E. Smith of Manchester. That concludes the list of nominations for today's meeting. And we will now move on to the consent calendar. I ask for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
So moved?
Second. Any items you would like to remove from the consent calendar? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, or is there any discussion of any items, okay, that are on the, that remain on the consent calendar? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent calendar signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Moving on to the regular agenda, I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 6 and 7 from the Department of Transportation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Hill.
Good morning, Governor and Councilors. Bill Katz, the Department of Transportation.
Good morning, Commissioner. I just wanted to say thank you very much to you and all of your staff who have just completed the public hearings. I think we had 26 public hearings throughout the state. And I think Toby gave the presentations for every single one.
Yes.
So especially congratulations to Toby, but I know it took a huge team to make it possible, including some people who weren't even there physically, including Bill Watson, who made sure that people were able to access virtually. And this was my first GASIT process as an executive counselor. I've been on the other side as a city councilor, advocating for projects for Lebanon and the area, but this was my first time as an executive counselor, and I just wanted to express my appreciation to your staff. It's quite an undertaking, and I think, you know, it was well done, and I look forward to, I know I guess, why don't you tell us what the next steps are, so that the public also knows what to expect?
Sure. The next steps are to work with the executive councilors, the GASIT Commission, and work on what you all feel would be your recommendation after hearing all the testimony. So I've reached out to see if any of you want to discuss, and we've targeted the after the November 12th GNC meeting to try to have a GASIT meeting to have you all discuss and then figure out what the recommendation would be. The next step of that is GASIT makes a recommendation to the governor for the 10-year plan, and then in turn, early in the new year, we'll submit it to the legislature. So the next step will be a GASIT meeting at the end of, hopefully following the November 12th GNC meeting.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you for recognizing the staff. They did put a lot of work into it.
Councilor Kenny.
Thank you. I just wanted to ditto those comments. I got a comment out of Durham, which I don't know if you were there, David Rodriguez, but a gentleman came up to me after the hearing and said, "This was the best hearing I've been to in 40 years. And of course, I immediately chimed back and said, "What have you been doing for 40 years?" But it talks about your staff and their professionalism and they're willing to work with the public. So that was just an indication of someone who was very impressed with the way that the meeting was conducted. So congratulations to your staff. But I did want to ask you about a covered bridge up in Conway. So there's a covered bridge over the Saco River that is shut down. Can you explain what happened and where we're going to go with trying to repair it? And I didn't know there were double-decker, buses up in, up in the Mount Washington Valley, because all these covered bridges seem to be getting hit.
Yeah. I have not had a recent assessment. I know there was an accident, the car veered off, hit one of the, and sheared one of the laterals that structural support for the covered bridge. So it wasn't just the facade or any of the other guardrail or something like that. It did impact one of the structural members. So we're assessing what it will take to do. Don't quote me on this. Our bridge maintenance, off the top of the head, they were thinking it would be 2 or 3 months, but they are doing the assessment to figure out how to support it, how to accommodate those repairs. The pedestrian the pedestrian walkway is open, but certainly when we have a detailed repair plan, I'll brief you all on it.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And we were up there earlier this summer visiting that covered bridge. and it's a racetrack depending on what side of the bridge you're coming in, you know, so.
And I don't know if that contributed to the accident, we haven't seen the accident report, but it was a vehicle on the bridge that did careen into the structural member.
Right, okay, thank you. It seems, Governor, like covered bridges get hit more often than regular bridges.
And is it double decker, right, or something, or what was there?
I don't know what I said about double decker, but it's two-way traffic.
Oh, you're being funny.
There's enough room for two-way traffic.
Yeah.
We have signs on either end of the bridge that people entering the bridge are supposed to yield to whoever's on the bridge, because it is very narrow.
And they're so historic, they're a beautiful part of New Hampshire, so we definitely want to get the word out, because we don't want people getting harmed, but also these are bridges we want to preserve in New Hampshire as part of, you know, our beautiful environment, and it's, you know, traditional when you visit those areas.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
Any further questions for the Commissioner? Councilor Stevens?
I want to thank you and the team again for the 5 hearings in District 3. As you know, Greenland was, I think, one for the record book. Gymnasium was packed, standing room only. So thank you. I had to hand the baton over to you due to another commitment, but they did a terrific job.
Good, thank you.
Thanks again.
Any further questions? Councilor
I
Stevens?
guess I'll second that, or third or fourth, Councilor Hill.
We'll start with you.
Yeah, I just thank you, Commissioner, and your staff. Again, you reached out to me so many times to ask if we needed help, and I know we're the newest members here, and the learning curve is very fast. And we need that information, we need your staff to help us, and they did, they came through. And now, you know, we have to make decisions, but we have all the information before us that we need to make those decisions. So I thank you and thank your entire department.
Very good.
Thank you, Commissioner. Very much appreciate it. All in favor of items 6 and 7 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you all.
And now we'll move on to, I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 8 from the Governor's Commission on Disability.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 9 from the Department of Information Technology.
So move.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 10 from the Deferred Compensation Commission.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Wheeler?
Governor, this is one item where I think we could make a little improvement on how available the information is on these reports. They're not included in this item, and there's a link to them, but you gotta go find them. You gotta go fishing for them. So I would recommend we just table this like we have other items, and then on our next meeting, that link could be added, and so that these reports become an official record of the Governor and Council meetings.
So you're asking for a link to the prior reports?
Yes,
Okay, because obviously the current one.
all the ones
We
listed
can
here.
make that happen.
There shouldn't be a problem, for the record, Terry Pop, Chairman of the Deferred Comp Commission.
You don't mind visiting us again, Terry, right?
No, what's that?
You don't mind visiting us again?
Not at all. And we plan on visiting you once a year anyway for our annual report.
Yeah.
But coming up and seeing you is never a problem.
And thank you for the great work you're doing and getting this done.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
getting done, and we're on a calendar year, so if anyone has questions, I'm thinking it's a fiscal year, and then we should have 25 now. 25 will be in our calendar year, and that'll be included in our next report.
It looks, and we have some further questions. Councilor
Council.
Stevens?
This has been a pet peeve, so I really appreciate your follow-up. And it's critical. I mean, I was able to track the audits down. The company's UHY out of Maryland, and we saw great records and reporting in 2021. And why it's so critical to have these audits, we saw a $57.1 million loss in 22, and 4 categories of funds were pulled and reallocated to 5 other funds. It was a tough year for the market. But then back in 23, you're ahead of it again. So, and 24. So thank you for getting these up.
Certainly. We're up to approximately 633 million right now with 9,000 participants. And I forwarded a letter to you all that you can send out to your districts and to your local school boards and school departments. political subdivisions, so that we can even increase this and offer that as a benefit. The governor's got a copy of that as well that you can distribute to state employees. So we're really working hard to make this thing sound, and we're having a regular cadence. We're going to have a regular cadence of our audits moving forward, and you'll get our annual reports. And the governance of this is really taking a sound shape.
What is the net position now? You said 600 million?
633 million as of this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Kenny.
Yes, thanks, Governor. I just wanted to thank you on your great work on the commission. I do remember that Meredith on the road show, and this came up and it just blew up.
Yes, it was. Unfortunately, I wasn't there.
Yeah, but no,
it was. There was some unexplained things that could have been explained much better at that particular meeting, and I think that we've resolved your concerns over that now, and we see that it is a sound process that we have, and you recognize that all the folks that are on that, half of them report to you regularly anyway, including the treasurer, including the DAS commissioner, including currently your education commissioner. So you have an audience that had to be constantly. We have representation from the judicial branch, from the legislative branch, and from the participants themselves. So it's a sound commission, and it's working very well right now, and we're going to anticipate and put things, processes in place that is going to continue straight through and continue to grow with your help.
yeah, great. So my question is, my left eye is seeing you, and my right eye is seeing that parking garage over there. So since I'm looking at it, I'm saying, can you give us an update on it?
Sure, we've got.
And when do you think it's going to be completed?
Absolutely, and as you know, the legislative parking garage has been an issue since Store Street was built in 1975, honestly, because that was a temporary parking garage, because they always wanted something out on this complex. So it's taken, government works in 3 speeds generally, slow, stop, and reverse. So we finally got here a number of years ago. And here it is, it's flown up really when you see it. Once we got the mitigation done on the site, it started August 18th with the first panel being set. The last panel was set October 3rd. It's the infrastructure of that is now taking place. It should be open March 17th, St. Patrick's Day of 2026. For operation, it'll be operational. The ribbon cutting and finishing touches will be in June. So you may see some cranes out here too, the LED projects going on. We've got a bathroom project here in the State House going on. You might have seen a crane outside your window. The windows are getting washed now. So it's a big task here at the State House complex, and we're meeting it.
Yeah.
When will the bathrooms be done?
Middle of next week, probably second week in November. I know that's a real popular thing. Second week in November, they'll be up and running. I mean, including a new mother's room downstairs, a lactation room. So that we're making progress on all fronts.
Well, we hope to have WIC funding by then, so
I would
thank
hope
you.
so. I would hope so. I encourage you to continue to put the pressure on DC.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Councilor Hill.
Well, I do love baked cream, so this is exciting, exciting stuff. Back to the Deferred Compensation Commission. When we had our interview for your reappointment recently was when I learned about this board, and I learned one of the interesting things was that this is actually available to not just state employees, but also to local government employees and school employees, all public employees in the state. And I thought that was very interesting because I think a lot of communities don't necessarily realize that this is a benefit that's available to them. So thank you for sending us that letter, and I think this is a constituent service that we can provide to our communities to make sure that they know that they can avail themselves of this resource, and especially now that we have the audits, although I favor tabling this until the next meeting, as Councilor Wheeler has suggested. We do have the audits now so that people can really have faith and confidence in this commission and know that their funds are being well managed and taken care of. So thank you. I was glad. It was interesting for me to, this is why I like to do these interviews, so I can learn about these different commissions and what they do.
It was a nice sidebar discussion because the interview was for the workers' comp board, but because you guys don't appoint me, it's the legislature does. But on that point, Councilor, we have the lowest fees in the state for a 457B plan. This is a benefit, and it's the third leg of a lot of retirement plans out there. It's a benefit for all the folks in the state that want to participate, and a lot of folks don't know about us, and that's what we're finding. When they do know about us, we accept all the fiduciary responsibility relative to this. and it's well regarded out there. And folks don't even know in the local political subdivisions, sometimes they have 2 or 3, 4, 37B plans, and they're sort of just cast aside. And it's a benefit that was there, and it was provided to their employees, but it's at a pretty high rate as far as the fees go. So when they find out about us, and you can help do that, help push that news out there. When they find out about the state of Manchester's Deferred Comp plan, they're banging at our door right now, and Aaron's handling calls. So we'd love to increase that political subdivision participation in the plan. Thank you.
Councilor Stephen?
And Terry, thank you, and thank your leadership too. I'm one of those that's always telling this plan to my constituents, and I've done for years. I remember the first day as a state employee walking into Commissioner Dave Flynn, God rest his soul, at his office as a deputy, his newly appointed deputy. And he said to me, John, you need to put your money into this deferred comp. You know, it's not just for you, it's really for your family. And God bless him. And you know what? He was right. And I didn't know much about it until I got over to the Department of Safety, right? I'd been at the Attorney General's office, even at the county. And I'm so glad I did this.
Yes.
And so keep up the great work. Make sure as many employees as possible, and in city and municipalities as well, know about this great opportunity and the fund. And thank you, Councilor Stevens, for constantly, asking about that fund. So I'm one of those 9,000, and I just appreciate what you do.
Yep, thank you very much, and we are promoting it, and as again, like I said, you folks can promote it, and we do meet with all of our representatives out there, meet with some HR directors throughout the state, and Aaron works with all, and our team from Empower works with all the political subdivision HR folks. So doing that and promoting it, when new hires come on, one of the first things I always encourage with any legislative employee, participate, this is available to you, even if you put in $5 with a percentage, it'll grow. You can't beat it. Honestly, it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and it helps them when they get to the other end of their service with the state or with the local subdivision.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Thank you. See you in a couple of weeks.
Move
All
to
right.
table.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Abstain.
Yeah, I'll stay.
All right.
No, I'll stay.
Okay, so we're all in, we moved on to 4 abstaining, yeah. Got it. We're good, okay. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 11 from the Office of Professional Licensure and Certification.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 13 from the Judicial Council.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Councilor Stevens?
Jay Bucky, New Hampshire Judicial Council.
Hi, Jay. Thank you for your email too, and I apologize I didn't get right back to you. But I have a few questions. I'm concerned about this. I know Governor talked to you about this. I raised it when you first came up here asking for the indigent fund dollars early on. It was somewhere around $30 million for the public defenders. And I have some concerns about this, and I guess my first question is, we've got about a couple $1 million in that line item. It looked like it was the line item, and now we're asking for $5 million till the end of till September or so 27. Was that the budgeted item for these two different initiatives in front of the legislature, $2 million? Are we asking now for more than double that amount?
It depends on which budget request you're referring to. I think the Judicial Council itself had asked for a substantially increased amount than what was than what came through to the legislature, if that makes sense. So the Judicial Council, when I voted on the budget in the Judicial Council phase, we've asked for a higher
But
amount.
the final budget had $2 million in that allocated line item.
Correct.
So now we're asking for $5 million. And here is my concern, and you know it, and I don't need to reiterate it. You mentioned in your letter that you receive it. You have no way of reviewing indigency issues. The courts determine indigency. I've been in courts when they determine indigency, and I've had questions, and nobody follows through. And then I heard that Commissioner Allinghouse's office that was doing some administrative review is no longer doing some of that. So that's done. We're not even checking to see if these individuals have assets, have income. I don't know what we're doing. It's the courts. Maybe we are doing something, but I am just not satisfied. And I don't know what the court is doing. And maybe every judge does differently. But when someone says, I don't have enough to pay for counsel, that's one issue. And the court looks at an affidavit and they sign it. How many prosecutions do we are? Who's investigating whether they're telling the truth? Are they using software? Are they using like LexisNexis? Are they checking assets? There's so many questions I have before I can, as a counsel for my district, and I understand the needs, and I'm not going to question the needs. We have incarcerated individuals that need help. And so I'd like to know if you have enough to cover, at least for another month or so, until we as a council hear from the courts about what the process is that they use to make sure an individual that they determine is indigent is in fact indigent and doesn't even have $500 or whatever the base amount was they were supposed to pay, which I don't think they're doing anymore. I don't feel comfortable just saying, okay, here you go, $5 million more. I'm sorry, and I think the council's doing a great job. And I respect the fact that you don't have that type of authority. And that's my question.
Can I just, for background, Charlie Arnold, I'm the Commissioner of Administrative Services. In the way this works is goes back a long way. And for a while, we had in our agency something called the Office of Cost Containment. And we would collect from people who had gotten indigent representation. In 2019, in that budget, an amendment was passed that had the court do determinations instead of us. And so the court does that. I don't know what they do, but they probably do it differently, so we don't do that anymore. Part of the impetus of that was to move away from collecting from, so we provide defense for you, and then we collect from you, because you're not always unemployed, let's say. And I think as a policy matter, the legislature decided to stop doing that in 2019 in our collections, because you can only collect from certain cases, not others. Went down drastically, and in the most recent budget, they eliminated it entirely because we were spending more to collect money than we were collecting, which is stupid, right? And so it's part of that, but because it was shifted to the courts, and I doubt the courts have any expertise in determining this, but I don't know exactly what they do, and I don't think it's the man way of that, but I wanted to talk about a lot of changes were legislatively authorized, and it's possible that Judge Keating was walking by the fireplace knows more than I do.
I would love to hear, and I understand the burden administratively, but I want to know, what is the court doing? Do they use software? Are they checking background? Are they looking at assets? Are they spending the time they need to make sure that those dollars are efficient and fiscally responsible when they say, yep, you are indigent, when they have so many tasks in the court, Chris, as you know? What exactly is the process?
Thank you for the question, Councilor. Chris Keating on behalf of the New Hampshire Judicial Branch. The process is, most often, it's someone who's in custody who's filling out a financial affidavit and submitting it to someone who works for the Department of Corrections, and then that is transferred to the Judicial Branch. It's reviewed by court staff. If there's a question, if it's a marginal matter against the standards for indigency, depending on the case type, it'll be referred to a judge. But in most instances, these financial affidavits list zeros for most categories. But there are instances when it's referred to a judge for more of a discretionary call to say, a major felony case is going to take a lot more assets for indigency than maybe a routine low-level misdemeanor case. But in terms of the utilization of software, no, we don't have the resources to be checking and confirming the indigency. We have to rely on the representations made by the individuals who are requesting counseling.
Okay, so self-report, Okay, then the next question, I haven't had the answer, is what's the investigation process? What happens as a follow-up? What are they doing to determine whether that individual has absolutely told the truth on that affidavit?
Yeah, that's a great question. There is not a system for confirmation. Everyone in the process has an obligation to bring it to the attention of the judge or the prosecutor if they learn that someone's not reported assets that they have, and that it's incumbent upon the defense attorneys who get appointed. I think they have an ethical obligation to bring that to the court's attention. By and large, people have a strong preference to be represented by counsel of their choice, not appointed counsel. In my experience, I've seen few instances of fraud in the representations made, but your point is a good one. We don't have a system in place for confirming the information provided by individuals seeking the appointment of counsel.
And my final question, I don't want to prolong this because this is an important issue in terms of efficiency. Governor, we talked about process on paper and process. There's all kinds of issues that need to be looked at. Even the prosecution, as the governor I know has mentioned a great idea on felonies versus misdemeanors, whether there's jail time, even prosecutors are involved here.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I'm just throwing away $5 million of taxpayers with no one doing any checks, and I don't like it. I'm just telling you, I don't like the fact there's no process. That's just me, and I know it's very important.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Wheeler.
Thank you. The affidavits that we're talking about here, are those the same affidavits that people have to fill out in, say, family court when there's a divorce proceeding?
No, Councilor, they're specific to indigent defense requests.
Okay. But these types of affidavits, like the one that you're talking about for indigent representation, and also the affidavits that people have to fill out for divorce proceedings and other matters, the courts rely on those currently. There's no verification on any of those. They're affidavits that are signed, that are sworn to by the person submitting them under some penalty. And the courts rely on these all the time. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah. I understand the concerns that Councilor Stephen has raised, and I think it's always a good idea to, especially when there's a service that's being provided to people in New Hampshire that is based on income verification or asset verification, that there should be a verification process. It is a little concerning to hear that the collection efforts in the past were actually costing more than was being recovered, so it suggests perhaps that there's not very much fraud there, because you would think if there was fraud going on that it would be easier to collect from people who actually have the assets. When it's hard to collect, it often means that people simply do not have those assets. So I think that actually, the fact that the cost containment effort was stopped was actually is a point to consider, that the fraud is likely low in this scenario. At any rate, this is a requirement. Providing indigent legal defense is this a constitutional requirement in New Hampshire?
Yes, Councilor.
Yes. So this is a constitutional requirement to provide indigent legal defense, and I would be very, personally, I would be very cautious. I would want to be very conservative in our approach to potentially putting barriers in the way of providing this constitutional obligation to people in need of access to justice. And so I think we can ask the legislature to look at the policy questions here that have come to light, thanks to Councilor Stephen. But I think that we should not hold it up today because this is a constitutional duty, and I don't think we should put barriers in the way.
Councilor Stevens.
Good morning. In the contract, there's a reference to a fee cap determined by court rules. Could you elaborate on that?
Sorry, the fee amount?
The fee cap.
The fee cap, yes. Traditionally, the Supreme Court has set fee caps for various types of services. So that's a essentially an amount over which you have to get specific court authority to bill over. So these fee caps are set at certain levels which are anticipated to cover most normal cases, but in certain cases, for example, a complex jury trial, a highly contested complex matter, lots of experts, those sorts of things, attorneys can file a motion to go over the fee cap.
So our cases are becoming more complex, the duration is longer, correct?
Yes.
And in fiscal year '24, the expenditures for this line were $4.6 million, correct?
Correct.
So we came in at under budget by just a little over $3 million, correct? Is that correct? Under just about $3 million for this line?
Under the current method was, yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
okay. But I do have to ask about the option of recouping indigent legal fees. It's something worth exploring again. And I echo some of the concerns of Councilor Stephen. But thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion with the council? Let me just say this, I appreciate Councilor Stephen raising this. One of the things I think that with the judiciary in charge of it, Judge, is also to perhaps explore with the legislature. The state holds a lot of information, whether it's Department of Employment Security, that asks, that type of financial information that we hold, whether through Health and Human Services, various aspects that we have that if they were tied in with some kind of computer check, there may be an opportunity that you could add that piece to it, and I think it's something worth exploring to use the existing information the state has when someone puts in an affidavit to just, run their, name, and you get those sort of in their information, and you get sort of what does the state know about them. That might provide more insight on, so that's something I think would be worth exploring to, try to verify this information. So I appreciate you raising it, Councilor Stephen. It's a legitimate issue, and I think that, I've had the experience, and I know, I'm sure Councilor Stephen has had it as well. I tried as a murder prosecutor some of the most difficult and challenging cases in the state, and I do want to say that many of them were tried against the public defender's office, and they were excellent, and they provided the highest level of representation, and so I have great respect for our public defenders and the work that they do. I think all of us were looking with everything we do in government to how can we do things better and more efficiently and save dollars and all that. So I think this is a good issue to look at, and I'm appreciative that it was raised. But I do want to thank the program for the quality of people that I can tell you I tried cases against. I would have them represent me if I were ever in trouble, I can tell you. I hope I will never be in trouble, but anyway.
Is that a setup?
Yeah. Councilor Stephen?
I echo the governor's point with public defenders, and that, having probably 80 jury trials at the county level, they were awesome to work with too. You can brawl in the courtroom and then you can have a beer afterwards, and they're great people. But I'm going to move to table this motion. I'm going to make a motion to table, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I feel that we need time here to talk with, I'm hoping the Chief Justice would be involved. I'd like to volunteer myself to sit down with you at least to figure out. I don't want to wait till the legislature's in session. I want to figure this out. I'm not saying we can recoup all the dollars here, $5 million's all waste, no. But we don't even have a process. We need to develop a process. I'd like to do something short term. I'd like to have the court come back and tell this council what they intend to do short term, and then what they're thinking about maybe working with the governor's coach. So I'm gonna move to table.
Is there
Second.
a second to that? Okay. Councilor Leo Hill had one more question before that was made, so I will allow you to do that.
Would the court be willing, or someone from the judicial branch be willing to meet with executive counselors to talk about this, even if we did not table this item?
We'll do whatever the council needs us to do. We're perfectly willing to cooperate and brainstorm about ways to solve the very legitimate concerns that the council has. Councilor Stevens raised.
Thank you, Judge.
I don't think tabling is necessary to achieve some of the policy issues that Councilor Stevens is concerned with, and it potentially opens the state to liability from related to this constitutional obligation that we owe to indigents in New Hampshire.
So we have a motion and a second on the tabling motion. All in favor of the tabling motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 14 from the New Hampshire Department of Employment and Security.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion of this item? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 15 from the Department of Corrections.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Stevens.
Yes. I just want to commend the department here. And it's not so much a question, but to point out in my district, Project Safe Neighborhood is a very important project. And it's achieved great outcomes in pretrial bail. I know the governor led the effort here on bail, in changing bail to make sure we can protect victims. This project protects victims. It's about pretrial. It's having the Department of Corrections, probation, and parole officers on the streets, visiting homes pretrial during bail conditions, which we hadn't seen for years. And Chief Marr has indicated that this project has been so successful, they're trying to go back to get more dollars at the city level. And I would just urge you to continue to work with Chief Marr and possibly work with the Department of Justice here to see if it can be expanded through other grant opportunities. But I want to thank the Department of Corrections and local government, Manchester, my district, for doing great work and having great outcomes. And I've read the PowerPoint demonstration they gave to the board. And it is great to know that the victims that were surveyed feel safe in their homes and their communities because of this project. And so thank you for that. That's all, Governor.
Bill Hart, Department of Corrections. As it happens, the very person who facilitated those dollars to be put in the hands of Manchester and Department of Field Services is right here. Jess Curran, the new Assistant Commissioner at Department of Corrections, was the person who facilitated that, along with Jeff White, Director of Field Services back there. It is an important matter to us, and we'll continue to do that, Commissioner.
Thank you, Assistant Commissioner.
Thank you. Any further discussion of this item? All in favor signify by saying aye. And
Aye.
Item 15 carries, and now we have a motion to adopt late agenda item A from the Department of Corrections.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion of this item? Councilor Kenny.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you, Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner, and to Director White for bringing this contract forward, which will give the Wolfball Field Office another 3 months so they can make the appropriate transition either into the new site or if they rearrange something with the current site. Obviously, I kind of hit the alarm button there not too long ago, and because I'm an alarmist when it comes to my county I grew up in, so I kind of feel the vibe real quick. So I appreciate the governor stepping in and making sure that that we have a way ahead that's going to be transitional, because as you know, there are confidential records that are at these field officers. They collect money, do restitution, and they have a lot of people that they oversee. In this case, I think it's well over 200. So, but I never, you get confronted with topics that you're not thinking about one day, and the next day, oh no, that's in my line of sight here. I better, get with it. Because anytime a lease is running out in less than 10 days, everybody starts to worry, and particularly people on the ground. So I do appreciate you jumping into action and the governor's support to make this turn into a good news story for the Christmas season. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Councilor. Really appreciate your raising the issue. Councilor Leo Hill.
I also really appreciate Councilor Kenny's work on this and bringing to light and this at least temporary reprieve to find a workable solution. This was brought forward in the discussion about the back of the budget cut that has been assigned to your department, Commissioner, of about $10 million in the budget that was passed in June. It would have had a particular impact on a rural part of our state. As Councilor Kenny pointed out, I am interested to know more about how your department is going to ensure that there's not a disproportionate impact to the rural parts of our state as you look at how to make these back of the budget cuts. Transportation is a major hurdle in a lot of New Hampshire, and one of the issues that was discussed was the potential for people who are out on probation to face technical, whatever they're called, challenges relating to because they simply don't have the transportation to get to the office that they need to get to. And so I want to know how you're going to make sure that the back of the budget cuts are not going to further exacerbate the challenges that people who are, have done their time and are trying to get back on their feet and contribute to society, and we certainly need everyone in New Hampshire who is able to work to be working, including people who have spent time in our jails or in our prisons. And how can we make sure that people in rural parts of our state are not disproportionately impacted by the back of the budget cuts?
Well, we have a plan which we're going to discuss with the governor's office today about that $10 million cut. And it is not focused on, or a better way to say it is, we're looking for ways so that it doesn't have a disproportionate impact on more rural parts of our state, whether that's west of Concord or north of Concord. In particular, with regard to field services, we're looking at all the data. We're looking at other mechanisms and possibilities as to where we could, even on a temporary basis, house offices like Wolfboro or up in the North Country. North Haverhill has an office. There's one in Berlin that's set in the Northern Correctional Facility. But we're looking at the data to justify where we could put even a temporary office. So Assistant Commissioner Curran is working on that project right now. And we have sort of two goals in this exercise of figuring out how to cut 10 more million on top of the 15 million that has already been cut from the Department of Corrections. And that is one, not lose any personnel, and two, not have a disproportionate impact on the more rural parts of our state.
Thank you. I recently saw a report from the Council on State Governments showing that in New Hampshire, the number one contributing issues to recidivism are access to mental health or lack of access to mental health and healthcare, and also lack of access to substance use disorder, to for resources for people struggling with addiction. And so I hope that the most cost-effective way, the cheapest approach, is to make sure that people who have done their time do not come back into the system. And so I hope that we're keeping an eye on how to prevent recidivism, because that is ultimately the most cost-effective policy for our state. So thank you, and I look forward to hearing what the plan ultimately is after you've worked that out.
Any further discussion for the Commissioner? Hearing none, all in favor of late item A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 16, 17, and 19 from the Department of Business and Economic Affairs.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Kenny.
Thank you.
Hello, Captain Ferguson, Department of Business and Economic Affairs.
Good morning, Jack. How are you doing? No, it's afternoon. Sorry.
Okay.
So I had a question on agenda number 19.
Yes.
I noticed that a lot of the folks that were, about to receive funding I was trying to find their financial statements, and I think I ultimately had to go online to find them, their financial audits or their 1099s, and I found them, a lot of them, they just weren't available. They weren't, in amongst their application. What they said that they conducted an audit through an outside firm, to conduct, their financial statement review. So it's somewhat incomplete that I saw that. So I think it's important that, I don't know how we get that documentation. There was one group that had their 1090, I think that's what
Form 990.
990 form that kind of spelled out their financial health of their organization. The other thing I wanted to kind of bring up was Motorcycle Week. When it comes to JPP, I see that in this contract it describes $1 million that was used for the last budget, and then $1 million for this year. Is that a part of the overall 15 million? This second $1 million, does that come from that 15 million that the legislature appropriated?
Okay, so to address your first question, we do follow them up on the deal and put together our DNC items. And in the MOP originally, it did not designate that we needed to require that type of information when we receive the submissions. That is in the process of being updated, and we did actually in the last minute collect all of that information and provide it to DAS. I'm not entirely sure it's attached to the agenda. We do have that information to provide from the awardees that are in this particular packet.
Oh, good.
So we did request all of that. They all jumped right on it and provided the information to us, and we did submit that. So there is information available. And that will be in the process ongoing. We just received that communication. So that will be in the process going forward. There's no requirement on grant recipients, only on P37 contracts. So when it was related to a nonprofit. With regard to Motorcycle Week in question, if that is a part of the travel and tourism budget, yes, that is a carve out in that travel and tourism budget. It is a statutory program, and we find that to be a very successful program in our opinion. We have done ROI sampling research on that, and in the most recent year that we did sampling, there is a $212 per dollar spent return on investment. And so that's a perfect real world example. I appreciate that you brought that up because we like to look at real world examples of how that benefits the state. I mean, it benefits the citizens, these organizations that is employees that work in our state, there's organizations that reside in our state. So we appreciate, and we like to invest in those. But if we look at that actual event itself, there's patrons at our hotels. So that's a return into the rentals tax. They go to our restaurants, so that's a return in the meals tax. Then they go to our convenience stores and they buy lottery tickets, so that's a return into the education fund. So they fill up their motorcycles on their motorcycle week, so that's a return into the IFTA tax. So this is a very important program that we really like to invest money in, and we actually did a higher carve out this particular budget cycle. It was lower than $1 million before. This time it was $1.125 million per year in this particular biennium. And we also included the program details in the cover letter, so you understand how we calculate. It is in statute, but how we calculate how much goes to each recipient.
So you're giving me good information, and it's information that I'm going to use and respond with a question. So Motorcycle Week, as I understand it, targets maybe a couple of states, to draw people into the state of New Hampshire. We know that at Motorcycle Week, that the epicenter is really Laconia, and that we've seen, there has been less motorcyclists traveling to other parts of the state. They really kind of hung around in the Lakes region, and that's very noticeable because I don't see the motorcyclists in Molten Borough or Conway like I used to. So why aren't we increasing the travel and tourism dollars for that week in targeting to states that actually have a concentration of motorcyclists, enthusiasts who might come to New Hampshire and be a part of Motorcycle Week?
So the marketing itself is actually done by the organization, and this is a program where they apply for it, so we support it based on their application. So if they were, and actually I can ask Michelle, our travel and tourism director, to speak more on that, but it is a program where they apply for it. So if you wouldn't mind, if I can yield the floor to Michelle, she can probably speak better to that.
Good afternoon, Governor and Executive Council. So as we see with the marketing efforts, they're always changing, and so we're trying to support these organizations with what they're doing and staying on top of the marketing efforts and reaching markets, visitors coming to the state. So there's always an expansion, and so we're supporting them with what they're doing and trying to be innovative and staying on top of what they're doing in terms of their marketing.
So outside of JPP, you had that 30,000, whatever, that motorcycle, week association gets. What are we doing as a state to market Motorcycle Week? That's going to be impactful.
No, thank you for asking that. We've partnered with them with JPP, but we've also put their event on the homepage of the website. We've also had staff meet with them and their board to make sure that we were staying connected. I've actually reached out to Troy and Claire to make sure that we can connect and stay involved and working with them on the upcoming event.
Yeah, and I know you're a new director because the governor and I kind of raised that concern that, be on the website. But I'm just thinking, collaboratively, the Department of Travel and Tourism work with those people in Laconia who've been doing this for decades. I mean, we're in our 103rd year. They kind of know what they're doing, but they need some marketing help. That's, the department could step up and say, okay, we've given you some money to market, and it only carries us so far. But as a state, we need to do a comprehensive effort because they're bringing in millions of dollars. Why wouldn't we want to capitalize on that so that we can actually market more around the country to places, market in the Dakotas or Sturgis that bring that over here, market where other outdoor enthusiasts have bikes that come to New Hampshire. There's a drop off. And I think, some people say, well, it's generational. I think we just need a more targeted market effort to get these people on motorcycles into New Hampshire.
That would be great too, and I thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
And I look forward to working with them and trying to see what else we can do with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Stephen has a question. Let me just say, and we have live for or die, best state motto, ride your motorcycle.
Absolutely.
Councilor Stephen.
Thank you, Governor. So I want to just kind of add to kind of the line you were asking about marketing. And my concern with this item, again, this is $330,000 general funds. We're talking about possibly having to take general funds, taking general funds now for food. We're talking about a lot of needs. We're talking about revenues going down. And I voted against the contract that spent something around $14 million for marketing, for tourism. And we don't have a leader right now at DEA. And we don't know where the future is going to be with regard to the whole issue of priority. And my whole focus here is that marketing contract had 12.5%, I believe it was, for a retainer on a huge multi-million-dollar contract for a marketing company. That retainer, that means every month those marketing companies are sitting there waiting for tasks and they're working with your staff and your organization. And we can't use some of those dollars to promote Motorcycle Week at a time when we need to help our general fund budget.
Well, let me just say, this money, as I understand it, goes directly to the actual people who are promoting themselves too. It's a little bit different in that regard.
Governor, I appreciate you saying that, but I'm looking at this. One of them is the $60,000 for digital marketing. I understand it goes to the organizations.
Yeah, right. So we go to like Charlie McIntyre and Motorcycle Weekend and those who organize that and Jen. So they would receive it and make sure that they're promoting their event with the way they think is appropriate.
I don't disagree. I think they can get community support. I think we're at a time where we're going to be careful on all these general fund issues. I think Motorcycle Week is well recognized across the country. However, do we need some more help in getting that word out? Yeah, you have a marketing company here that you're paying a retainer, a substantial retainer every month. So, I'm not going to support this item because I do feel we have to promote our state and continue to, but we also need to worry about the most important needs of our citizens in this state.
Councilor Wheeler.
I have a different question. In this item, it says that the agency waived the insurance requirements from $2 million to $1 million. And since we have other items we're kind of taking a look at insurance issues. How does that work with your agency? How can the agency waive from $2 million to $1 million on insurance?
That would be an item that I'd have to look into further. I can tell you that this packet was reviewed by DOJ and approved.
I understand that, but
Well, I
if
think
you
we
could
have-
get us an answer to that.
It might be better for the
Offline.
Attorney General's office also too, also, I don't know.
Yep.
Associate General, Attorney General here is,
Okay.
respond.
Hi, Associate General, Attorney General Respond, and good afternoon.
Yeah, I understand the Attorney General had a family issue, so. the
Okay.
Associate Attorney General, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm happy to speak to the insurance issue generally. I'm not familiar with this particular contract, but I think the Attorney General distributed to all the councilors a draft policy. The intent of that was in response to questions that the council had about waiver of the insurance requirements in the P37. We drafted that policy to attempt to memorialize the factors that we think about on those rare occasions when an agency does ask. I know there was also asked for a number of contracts where this happens. I haven't been able to determine an exact number because it's not something we've tracked. We will, however, though, if you want to track it going forward. But it seems to be exceedingly rare. I was the head of plant counseling for 14 months. I can't think of a single time that we waived it, or maybe 2 times where we modified it to be lower. It seems like it's probably on the order of single digits or maybe low double digits a year where this would happen. But the policy tries to lay out the factors that we look at. It's effectively a risk-benefit analysis. There are occasions where a vendor wouldn't, for the price and for the exposure, it wouldn't make economic sense for them to get the insurance. And so if the agency wants to move forward and we determine that we think the risk is low, we approved it in those rare circumstances. I will say, I think our office is institutionally incentivized to not court extra risk because we're the agency that the risk falls upon. So we're very, very thoughtful and careful about that, and it is very unusual when it happens. The other thing is in the policy is we're going forward going to make sure anytime an agency engages with us about a waiver and we determine that a waiver or a modification is appropriate, we're going to direct the agencies to put that in the cover letter along with their rationale so it's especially transparent to you guys. But in all cases, anytime there's a modification of the standard terms, that goes right in the Exhibit A. So you can always.
But what is the standard for this contract? It must be $2 million if it's waived to 1.
Yeah, the standard is a GL policy with a $2 million ag. So $1 million would be half the standard. I'm not familiar with the merits of this contract. I'm happy to look into which Assistant Attorney General looked at it and confirmed that they went through that cost-benefit analysis. But as with any contract, it's obviously your guys' call. We don't put them forward to you unless we think that there's a positive risk analysis that makes sense for that.
And I will add that, in this contract, there wasn't any rationale for it. They just said it was waived. So I think I'm hearing you say in the future, if something gets waived, there'll be rationale.
In the future, if there's a waiver or modification, it will go right in the cover letter and it will say why they're waiving it and why we think that was warranted.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Governor, if I could add, I'm not going to vote against this contract now that I know that I'm going to get the supporting document. Because
yeah, I'm sorry, it is attached to the
online.
Yeah, so it's attached. I just pulled it up on my computer, but the idea is this was a set of items that you previously haven't gotten this kind of information. It just wasn't covered in the MOP, but we're going to have that provided now, and so that's why it took a little longer to get these uploaded, but they are uploaded right now online.
So the last time I did look online, it wasn't there.
It just got up there yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
It took us a little longer because it's not a normal MOP item, but we'll include it going forward. It's separate from the other nonprofit stuff that you've traditionally gotten, so we're actually expanding access here by including this, so that's why it took a little longer.
Yeah, and it helps me to understand how robust and healthy these nonprofits are that are doing this marketing and other work to promote the state. So I'm going to support this, but in my mind that it's stuff that we've traditionally supported in the past. Everybody gets their carve out of JPP. But I just think the state needs to have more emphasis out of the BEA budget or marketing budget to promote Motorcycle Week, because that's probably the second largest event outside of Loudon, racetrack event. That brings in thousands of people into our state, and we could potentially bring in more if we have even more of a marketing effort nationally. So that's the point that I really want to bring out about this contract.
Thank you, Councilor Leohill.
I appreciate that point. I was recently meeting with some officials in Charlestown, and they were talking about how a lot of folks actually get off of 91 and come across to get over to Bike Week, and they go through Charlestown. And so even in my district, I know Bike Week happens in Laconia in your district, but certainly there's an impact of Bike Week in the districts that people travel through to get to that event. So I think the emphasis on seeing how we can use state tourism dollars to further support Bike Week, I think is a point well taken. Couple of quick questions though. JPP, the Joint Promotional Program, this is a program that is authorized by the legislature, is that correct?
It's in statute, it's been in statute for as long as BEA's been in existence, yes.
And it was funded in the most recent budget that was passed in June, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, one of the things that I appreciate about this program that I noticed as I read some of the backup material and the grant applications is that these dollars are relatively small. This is total $366,000, so relatively small in terms of our $15 billion state budget. And what they do is they leverage additional funds at the local level, and that a lot of these chambers of commerce or the campground association, Ski New Hampshire, these folks know how to really squeeze every dollar that they can out of these limited dollars. And so I really appreciate, I think a lot of the money that we spend in this area, these are investments that have a great return for the people of New Hampshire, and for relatively limited state funds actually get a really big bang for the buck. And so it's great to see programs, it's great to see funds going to the White Mountains area, it's great to see funds going to the Monadnock region, just getting down to the local level. So thank you very much.
Thank you, your comments are appreciated. It is a 50% minimum match program for the recipients.
Any, Councilor Stevens?
Fully support this contract. We can do more for Motorcycle Week. But in terms of $366,000, when you look at the most recent DEA biannual report, tourism generated $7.5 billion over 2 years. Meals and rooms generated $314.5 million. It's restaurant week coming up in Portsmouth, and they're going to be packed because the chamber's promoting it. So it's money well spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. So if there's no further discussion, all in favor of items 16, 17, and 19 signify by saying aye.
Aye. No on 19.
No on 19.
The items carry. I ask for a motion to adopt Agenda 20 from the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Good afternoon, Sarah Stewart, Commissioner of the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources.
Where is your knife?
It was given me a head.
Oh, okay. Did you see it, Governor?
Oh,
Wait, show the Governor, come on.
What is it, a knife?
You'll see it. It looks, because it's Halloween.
Oh.
This came in the Commissioner costume packet that I ordered online. The
That's
Happy Halloween.
That's great.
Well, I wanted to say congratulations on a great Tram 2.0 retirement event on Sunday. It was great to be up in Cannon. It was great to be together with Councilor Kenny as well. We were on the very last tram to come down with we had golden tickets, and it was a very rowdy tram ride down, but it was a lot of fun and good memories. And we even had with us the Alan, and I can't think of his last name, who actually helped construct Tram 2.0 back in the 80s. So it was a really special time, and I just so appreciate exactly. I so appreciate that the tram
at Cannon Mountain was the first tram in the Americas. And it's a really special part of our state's history, and I'm very appreciative that the legislature has appropriated the funds and that we are going to be able to keep this great tradition alive. So just wanted to say thank you, good work, and I look forward to the ribbon cutting or whatever, the first ride on Tram 3.0 in a couple of years. Great, and we will keep this council posted on progress. And we'll keep the public posted. The press did an awesome job covering the last day of the tram, so I appreciate that. And I took my daughters up the first ride of the day, up Mustard and down Ketchup after doing the ring trail. So it was a really special day, and it was important for us to end with some celebration, knowing that we're going to have Tram 3.0 up and running. I do have a question. Can you give us an update on going back to Sunapee and the issue of the lagoons or the wastewater treatment facility that we're looking at an alternative? This was something that came up over the summer, and I know that you recently issued an RFP. Can you just talk briefly about that process and what the next steps are?
I am happy to. So every year we meet with the public in Sunapee or Newbury pertaining to our relationship with Vail at Mount Sunapee. And there's just been a lot of public concerns that are valid, but also important to clarify in terms of the wastewater treatment facility. You know, knowing that Mount Sunapee and Lake Sunapee are so important to our state park system, to the public and the people who care about those resources. And so in an effort to be completely transparent and to bolster the trust between the state and private and local communities, we worked with the public to come up with a request for qualifications for third-party validation that the lagoons, the wastewater treatment process is not only safe, but how can it be better? What are some ideas for the future? What will that look like? What would it cost? So it's been a really great process to work with the community on this, and the RFQ is out. I'm not sure when, I can't think of the deadline on the top of my head right now, but soon we'll have some applicants to review, and that's another opportunity to re-engage with the public.
I know this is a really important issue to a lot of my constituents. I've heard about this a lot, and I do appreciate the public engagement that you've done, and look forward to seeing this process through. Thank you.
Great. Any additional questions for the commissioner? Hearing none, all in favor of item 20 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 21 through 40 from the Department of Environmental Services.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Councilor Stevens?
Good afternoon, governors and councilors. For the record, Bob Scott from the Department of Environmental Services.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Agenda item 24, this is a $2.6 million water main extension with Pennachuck Water Works. And my question is, the US EPA just finalized their interim record of decision for the Tinkham Garage Superfund site in Londonderry. How does that impact the funds that we're receiving? 5C was it's on a consent calendar. Again, we were reducing funds, but extending the completion date. So again, how does this recent EPA decision impact how we're moving forward with these projects and how they're being funded?
Sure, thank you. So you're correct. So 5C is definitely related to 24. There was a switch there in the context that we'd much rather have them, rather than do their own small systems, connect to a larger public water system, better protections, a lot of positives. Short answer, I'm not aware of any impact that the Superfund decision will have on Tinkham, will have on this project. So I don't think they're related. This is for Pine Hill and again 5C, as you saw. They just connect those. There's a lot of activity in Londonderry right now regarding the impacts. They're very impacted by PFAS, and there's a lot of work going on. There's a very nice project going on up on High Range Road, which is actually coming in under budget. I don't say that often, this is great. And we're leveraging as much as possible to get people connected with the water systems. But short answer is, I'm not aware of any impact right now.
And the Water Council met on Monday to go over the disbursement of the first rollout of $8 million in 3M funding, and that's going to be a total of $54 million. And can you discuss a strategy that the Water Council is going to adopt to pay in advance based on the groundwater state?
Sure. I can't admit because it's not been voted on yet. So,
Okay.
so the council you're talking about is the Drinking Water Groundwater Trust Fund. I'm one of the trustees. What we're anticipating is a few things. The settlement monies you're talking about have to do with, again, the Attorney General's office and our staff here for DES. We're able to get a relatively speaking, a better settlement for the water systems in the state. What the trust fund in the law says is those monies will go to the Groundwater Drinking Water Trust Fund to be allocated to DES to disperse effectively to the water systems. So the formula, if you will, that's been agreed upon by the Trust Fund Commission is we know the figures for the impact of water systems, how much they spent on remediating because of the PFAS issue. I wish I could say the money's coming in would pay them one for one, dollar for dollar. That's not the case. It's going to be closer to 25 cents to the dollar. What then will happen is, so we'll know how much they spent. If they received grants already to help do that work, that will be deducted from how much they would get. And then they would be allocated that amount for those water systems. So that's the formula effectively that's been approved by the Trust Fund Commission. We've been talking at the commission about perhaps, and this has not been presented or approved by them yet, that maybe we could get them to front the total amount expectations to the water systems. That's a notion at this point. But the thought was they could maybe perhaps allocate to front that, and then instead of as money comes in, this money's going to come in over 8 to 10 years in dribbles and drabs. It would just go to the trust fund rather than multiple checks going out to the system. So that's still a work in progress, if you will.
Okay, so for now it's $8 million that we're working on.
Correct, but we expect, in fact, it may have come in already another amount, a little bit bigger than that. If it's not coming in yet, it will come in soon too.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Wheeler.
Item 22.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to support this item because it's late in the construction season. This is the second time it was out to bid, but I think we just need to spend a minute talking about how we can approve when we go out to bid again. So it was out to bid twice and we only get one response. And it appears by this bid that it was only advertised in the Union Leader. That we didn't advertise in the Dodge reports or the Blue Book or other construction companies who list current government and private sector projects that want bids. And some of the listed companies here that the bid request was sent to don't even do this type of work. So I just want to point that out. The item says to us that these companies are known to complete this type of work, and it simply isn't true. Companies on this list don't even do this work. So if we could just try to work through a better process when, I know this may not be the type of thing you bid very often, but if we could use more sources like the Dodge report, Blue Book, etc., and maybe we'll get more than just one bid. I think this is a fair bid, and I want to say that, eyeball, it looks like it's a good price and we can get it done before winter, so we should move forward with it, but I think we can do better.
Yeah, point taken. Again, at the breakfast meeting, we brought the manager. We own and operate the wastewater treatment facility for the 10 communities around that area. It's the Winterside River Basin project, and we brought the plant manager oversaw that over their discussion. So we appreciate that. And real quickly, as you mentioned, the pricing seemed fair. If you look at it, it's articulated in the agenda item also. I think it's also on attachment 2 or C, I forget, I apologize. They were, that same firm was in a contract in the last fiscal year, state fiscal year, and this is the same pricing. So we also, same thing, we also worry, especially if we get the low number of bids, are these inflated or are they realistic? And that just gave us a little bit of confidence.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Councilor Leohill.
Thank you. Earlier, we lifted the fire ban based on good news. We've had some good rain recently that has allowed for those conditions to improve enough. But can you talk about the status of the drought in New Hampshire briefly?
Sure. Again, obviously, we're happy for any moisture that happens, so that's great. And you've heard already that the moisture in the surface has gotten better, so that's also great. We are still, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, nationally, 2/3 of the state is still in extreme drought. We hope with the rains coming in, the expectation is that will relieve a little bit. To the extent we're able to get rain, what I think you'll see is, if you looked at the map of the state, the improvement will happen south to north. But for the foreseeable future, the drought monitor only goes out to January. They don't see a change, any large change in the state regarding surface waters and aquifers. I also will say we've asked the communities and the well drillers to report to us, it's voluntary obviously, the number of wells going dry. So far we've collected, we know of about 200 wells that have gone dry. The worst impacted communities so far are Pittsburgh and Clarksville. So we're seeing the extreme north right now is in the worst place. As I mentioned, the improvement will go south to north. So that's a concern. We'll continue to watch this. Obviously, we'll hopefully have a good winter for a lot of reasons. If we get a good amount of snowpack and other things that hopefully will improve in the spring. But if it doesn't, that will be something we definitely need to watch closely.
I know Grafton County is still in extreme drought, and I've been hearing from constituents in Grafton County and now even in Sullivan County, a little further south, whose wells are going dry, and that is a major unanticipated expense for people who are already being stretched really thin. So I guess we will all be praying for snow and rain.
Especially ski New Hampshire. So any further discussion for the commissioner on these items? Hearing none, all in favor of items 21 through 40, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items.
No on, give me 1 second.
Sure.
No on 40.
Okay. So noted. And I ask for a motion to remove tabled item 50 from the table. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, is there, first of all in favor of removing item 50 from the table?
Aye.
Is there a motion to discuss this item?
So moved.
All in favor of the motion discussed, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. And is there any discussion on tabled item 50 from the Department of Environmental Services? Councilor Wheeler.
Governor, this gets back to our debate on insurance and what the correct policy is for the state of New Hampshire. You heard from Attorney Bond earlier, Attorney General's office. They have written us a draft policy. My view is it's still a little vague. It doesn't really include a good description of why it's low risk or like any indication of is there a dollar limit, how big the contract would be. But nevertheless, it's my view that this $33,000 contract shouldn't go forward without insurance. What he does, mapping bedrock in the field or writing it down in his office, he could hit a child with a car while doing our job and we'd be liable, or could be liable, could be sued. I know when I worked for big companies like Sylvania, I can't even drive on their property without $2 million worth of insurance on the vehicle. So it's just my view that this contract in particular, and probably most every state contract, the contractor should have insurance. So I'll be voting no.
Any further discussion for the Commissioner, Councilor Wheeler?
Thank you, Commissioner. I think I recall that this is there's no one else to do this work. Is that? But if we don't pass this contract, what will happen?
Practically speaking, we'll probably go look at it again and look at, the prices of insurance and kind of have that discussion again and see if we can get somebody to bid on it. But you're right, there's a limited number of people that do this work. We have a little bit more flexibility for this particular contract. We're funding it out of a different source. Usually these quadrangles that are mapped are funded out of USGS money that's passed through to us, and they have a limit on how much they will fund per project, and we're already at that limit with these people that do that work. So there's a very finite group, and they kind of have already informed us that they're not willing to go beyond that. So that would be an issue working forward, but that's to answer your question. We probably start again and see where we can end up.
And what is the point of bedrock geologic mapping?
In this particular case, there's a lot of benefit from it, but the department's current most pressing concern and need for this and interest in it is, and I think it's articulated in the agenda item too, is for contamination mapping. So we have a lot of water contamination, particularly for PFAS, particularly in the southern part of the state. And having this mapping be done helps geologists, I'm not one of them, to be able to anticipate and map, probably a strong word, where the water, contaminated water, where the plume may go. And that helps us for understanding, okay, somebody wants to put a new water well in, is that going to cause a problem? Or, that type of activity is important. So without that information, this is one of the tools we use to help figure that out.
Councilor Stephen.
I have a question, maybe it's for the Attorney General, but if, I remember bidding on a state project for like $40,000, never even stood foot one time in the state. They required me to have insurance, and it cost me $600-700 for $1 million each occurrence policy. A question: what if you go back to this vendor, Commissioner, and just simply say, I don't know what it'll cost, but it's not going to be a lot. It's $500 to $1,000, probably in most carriers. Come back to us. Can you come back to us with this item? If we vote no, could you even come back to the next item, a late item or next sole source? It doesn't matter, but just get insurance.
I think it would be a good question. Maybe ask the Attorney General that, I don't know. Or associate.
If we vote this down,
Chris here, right? Associate.
I guess the question, thank you, Governor. The question is, if we vote this down today, and the Commissioner were to ask this gentleman to get insurance, can he come back at the next meeting with the same contract and we?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think it is a sole source already. Yeah, it's already a sole source contract. Because, as you already spoke to, there's a very limited market for it. And, to your point, Councilor, it's always the default that we expect all the vendors to have insurance, that 37 is always part of the RFP process. So everyone's understanding is that it's only in these rare circumstances where we get a vendor who just kind of says, no, I don't want it, and we look and see the risk is low and there's no alternatives. But absolutely, there's no reason that the agency can't engage with the vendor to at least negotiate that.
If I could, I was presuming to stay on the table, but whatever you do, that is fine with us. We're fine with going back to look. Our business office, I think, assumed a certain amount, which is probably inflated for insurance. And we're interested in finding out not only how much for the $2 million for this type of activity, but is there a sliding scale here? What if we did $500,000 because it's really not a lot of risk, and have that discussion. And it's still, at the end of the day, as you're well aware, it's still a balance of risk compared to bang for the buck, if you will. So we're happy to do that. We've already kind of started looking at that already.
Councilor Stevens.
I had a conversation with the geologist who is a RIDE resident, and through an LLC, he can acquire insurance. So if you can wait, I'm just trying to find the email correspondence that I have until the end of the meeting. I think there's an easy resolution.
So we could, if it would be the will of the council, we could leave this on the table.
Put it back on the table?
Or put it back on the table, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot we had a motion in a second. So, I'll move.
Second.
All in favor of keeping this, tabling this item again, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item is tabled, and then we'll wait for further information from the commissioner as to, on the insurance issue.
Governor, I just had a quick question of the commissioner, just kind of got ahead of myself here, but on item 40, which you already voted on, there was some supporting document in your narrative that said Freedom Conservation Commission on the project as proposed. Our address and the findings are included in the closed documents. I was just trying to figure out where those Freedom Conservation Commission comments are, because I don't see them in this document.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I see some Osprey Lake Alliance letter, but I don't see Freedom Conservation Commission comments.
Could we have the commissioner follow up with you on that and make sure those are in there? I think, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, we can do that, Governor. The other thing is, what is the rules when it comes to docks as far as what's required to have a public hearing if there's a certain amount of moorings or docks? Bringing a specialist here. I just want to get that clarified because this has been a back and forth issue. So I just want to make sure I have all my ducks in line here.
I'm going to repeat the question because I realize people can.
Yep, absolutely. What are the rules for moorings, docks, as far as public hearings? How many do you have to have before you have a public hearing?
Generally we have a public hearing if it looks like it's the record rainy till DHHS. We generally have a public hearing if in fact there's going to be large impact to navigation or it could be a public issue. This particular case of Wabanaki, they have 809 feet of frontage and they have 11 docks, which is statutorily approvable. The issue that the Osprey Lake Alliance was after was they were concerned about 11 docks, and they also looked to reinstate their 31 mooring permit. So as you well know, moorings are out in the lakes. The docks are pretty much inland on shore. They're a little longer than we normally permit because of depth. Slip is considered to be 8 by 25 feet long with 3 feet of water, so they are a little bit longer. But the real issue that the Alliance had a problem with moorings, which, as you know, Department of Safety regulates, not us. So the docks that we approved in the permit they got is strictly in accordance with the rules and statute.
Okay. So any questions they would have about this, they would take up the Department of Safety as far as moorings?
For moorings, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only 7 lakes in the state that require a mooring permit. Osprey is one.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now we'll move on to items 41 and 42 from the Veterans Home.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of items 41 and 42 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carried. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 43 through 46 from the Department of Education.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Wheeler.
Governor, on item 46, this is one of those nonprofit items, and there's no balance sheet, so that we can tell what the financial standing is of this organization with this item.
Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Commissioner of Education. I thought the appropriate documentation had been forwarded to you, but I will make sure that you have that information, so if you need to table that, I'll get that information. It's perfectly fine.
Speak in the mic.
Sorry, if you need to table this item, I'll get that information, that's perfectly fine.
Awesome. Thank you.
Councilor Wheeler.
Thank you. Commissioner, while you're here, we've been getting some very concerning information from school care, the risk pool that covers a lot of our school districts, and I know that the city of Concord is looking at an unanticipated $2 million assessment, and the people of Claremont, who are already really struggling, received an unanticipated $600,000 premium assessment as well. This is really hard on taxpayers in New Hampshire who are already really struggling right now. We just had the Fiscal Policy Institute on Friday put out new information at their annual conference about how the average family in New Hampshire is now making $17,000 less than what they need to actually cover on their cost of living. So things are getting harder for taxpayers. School care, the risk pool, sending out these unexpected bills that are then causing additional burdens for taxpayers. What are you doing to make sure that that this doesn't happen again? And also, are there ways that the state can be looking to try and bring down the cost of health care for our public employees so that we can relieve some of the pressure on taxpayers?
Thank you very much for this question. School care is an insurance pool and is regulated by the Secretary of State's office here in New Hampshire. So Secretary Dave Scanlon is here, and I think is better suited to help answer some of those questions. So if you don't mind, I'd like to phone a friend for this.
Well, I hope they establish a friendship.
So, Councilor Leo Hill, thanks for that question. The state of New Hampshire self-insures its employees with their health insurance. The state of Manchester does the same thing, Nashville does the same thing. But in the statute, there is a provision that allows smaller communities that don't have the size to be able to self-insure to pull together, join their resources to provide that health insurance by self-insuring their employees. And the rates that are assessed to communities for that coverage is developed by actuarial science and their professionals that participate in that process. Because these are all tax dollars, and because of self-insurance, if the money that is collected in the reserves becomes excessive, that money is returned back to the city's accounts, that is in excess. And that has been happening on a fairly regular basis. We've had the unfortunate situation, though, that became apparent a couple of years ago. We've been following it, where a couple of these risk pools have been in a condition where their reserve levels have dropped to dangerously low levels. And one risk pool decided to close its doors, and we had a court order a receiver to step in and run that out in a responsible way to protect the communities that belong to that risk pool as best we can. And that's going to be successful in its run out. Unfortunately, school care was not on our radar screen, at least at the same time we were concerned about the others. But based on the information that they received from the actuaries, and based on the general fact that across the spectrum of healthcare, claims have been going through the roof, school care found themselves in a position where their reserves were dangerously low, and they were continuing to drop. And so the assessment, when the funds run out, the communities are still liable to pay the cost of those claims and build reserves. Same as the state of New Hampshire would step up if they ran out of what was anticipated and pay those bills. So the assessment that is made is really unfortunate, and we understand the hardship that it places on those communities, but it had to be done to allow the employees to continue to receive their health care, have their claims paid, but also build that reserve level back to a point where this isn't going to be a repetitive process, that they become stabilized. In the last session of the legislature, there was Senate Bill 297, which would have addressed this situation. And had that bill passed, I believe school care would not be in the exact condition that it's in now. It would not have been good, but it would not have been this bad because steps would have been taken to correct the situation earlier than is the case. So hopefully that answers your question.
It's good to hear that there are measures, that the steps being taken now are going to prevent this from happening in the future. I think the theory behind risk pools is that the larger pool that you have, the more you can spread the risk. You can spread the risk over a larger group of people. It sounds like we have at least, I think, 5 risk pools in New Hampshire. We have the Manchester, Nashua, the state of New Hampshire, school care, and health trust. Would it make sense for us to, are there things that the state can be doing, that your office can be doing, or other partners in the state to drive down the cost of health care for public employees? After all, these are being paid for with public tax dollars. And this is a major driver of local property tax increases. And so I just want to know if there are things that we can be doing as a state to contain costs and even lower costs so that ultimately we can provide relief to taxpayers.
So lowering healthcare costs is a much broader question than just risk pools. But in terms of the risk pools, there are actually 2 that deal with health insurance primarily. That's school care and it's health trust. And then there is one that deals with property and casualty liability. That's primaries. And if those pools are operating properly, they are maintaining the reserve levels that they need to be healthy. But because they're pooling their resources, they should be able to get the best rates for healthcare coverage that they can get, hopefully below commercial insurance market rates. And that's the objective of these programs. And hopefully they'll continue that way.
Thank you.
Further questions for either the Commissioner or the Secretary of State? And did you have a motion on 46?
Yeah, move to table 46 while we wait for information.
Second.
All in favor of tabling item 46, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That item is tabled, and now I ask for a vote on the remaining items 43, 44, and 45. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carried. I ask for a motion to remove from the table items 61 and 62 from the Department of Education.
So
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of removing the item from the table, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item has been removed from the table. Is there a motion to discuss these items?
Moved.
second.
All in favor of discussing these items, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion to discuss passes, and is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of items 61 and 62, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carried. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 47 through 55 from the Department of Safety.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of items 47 through 55, signify with Councilor Stevens.
Good afternoon, Governor, Executive Council. For the record, Bob Quinn from the Department of Safety.
Good afternoon, Commissioner, and thank you for reaching out to me yesterday regarding the dramatic changes to the policies at the DMV. And my questions, my concerns were that it was so rapid. It's atypical for a division of Europe to make such dramatic changes. What is driving this decision? What sort of data is there for the urgency to have this happen by November 3rd?
Sure, great question. I appreciate it. And while it might appear dramatic, It's been really a constant. I'm joined today by Director John Marasco, and I'd be remiss if I didn't have him join me. He's been here today. So the director and his team have really done a good job over the past couple of years of really looking at ways they can improve customer service. So just high level, as you know, you approve contracts. We have 14 locations across the state. They're supposed to meet the needs and demands of all of our residents for these important transactions. We've seen a 7.6% increase over the last year, which is really going from 395,000 to 425,000 transactions. And what unscheduled appointments do is they cause delays, they cause long lines, and really poor customer service. So moving towards more appointment-based transactions will increase and get better customer service. But I'll let Director Marasco put an end to this. Everyone's concern is for those who need an accommodation, an emergency transaction. So having time in there throughout the day to meet those needs, that has not fallen off of our plan. So John, do you want to touch that?
Sure. I have a question.
Afternoon, Governor, Councilors, thank you so much. The Commissioner really covered, the high-level parts of what we're trying to do here. It's going to equal better customer service. We're trying to make sure that we get everybody in and out as quickly as possible. Last year, we had 425,000 in-person transactions. That's up 30,000 from the year before. Most of our customers do like the appointment option, but as the Commissioner said, what ends up happening is we have a lot of people that come in when it works for them, and then we end up, those that have an appointment are wondering why it's taking so long to get up to the counter. So this is a way to just guide people to make sure that we're doing the best we can for everybody that comes in. With an appointment, generally speaking, you'll be in and out in 10 to 15 minutes. The other thing it does is spreads out our operation across our 14 locations. So Mondays and Fridays are really busy at the DMV. It's not uncommon in Concord to have a line out the door on a Monday or Friday of 35 people prior to 8 o'clock before we open. It's like that all day long. But you might have another location like Salem where you just don't have that volume for the day. So what this is going to allow us to do, we've done all the math on it. I want to recognize Assistant Commissioner Steve Boyd, the Commissioner, all working together to figure out how many appointments can we offer and what is our volume in a given day, week, month, and year. And we know that in a given week, we're going to have around 700 appointments available beyond what our volume is. So what that means is we're going to be able to spread out those appointments to different locations. Most people will get what they want. But for those transactions where somebody comes into Manchester and we've given out all of the appointments that we have for that day, we may ask, are you willing to go to Salem? Are you willing to go to Nashville because we have an open appointment there this afternoon? But as the Commissioner said, for anybody that needs a license renewal because they're going to expire at midnight, we're going to get it done. For anybody that is in a position where that's their one-time opportunity to get into the DMV for that 5 or 10 year period, we're going to get it done. And at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a winner. Other states have done it. Just actually standing in the back, the Rhode Island DMV Director, Bud Craddock, sent me an email. Congratulations on the appointments. People really do enjoy those. But we also recorded a video yesterday that's already on the website, and it explains how you do it. At the end of the day, you can go on and you can book it yourself, or you can call the DMV and we'll book it for you, or you can simply, John walks into a lobby, I'm here, I need to renew my license, how do I do it? We're going to have somebody that will take you right at the counter and help you book an appointment and get you through. So I think we're really in a good place that way. The other thing I just want to touch on is it reduces overtime within the organization. There's a cost savings there, we did the math on that. It's $180,000 last year for our employees to stay from 4:30 when we close until 6:30 or later at night, which is the norm. In certain locations around the state, employees are scheduled to work 8 to 4:30, but depending on the demand, when walk-ins come in, you may stay as late as 6:30 or later, and we had a lot of that throughout the summer. So we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done.
Just a follow-up. But this decision was made internally. As you and I were discussing this morning, you serve on coach. This was not an external conversation driven by that organization, by that committee, correct?
No, ma'am. This is something that historically at the DMV has been discussed, and particularly since going to appointments in 2020. We know that appointments are effective, they're efficient. People that have one enjoy it. I get text messages all the time from people who have an appointment that say, when I came into the DMV, I didn't even have a chance to take my jacket off. and I was in and out, and I got my license renewed. So it works, but that's really what's driving it, is we have the technology, and there's a way to guide people to use the appointments and to book them, but also to make sure that we always meet the demand and we don't turn people away.
Thank you.
Councilor Kenny.
Thank you, Governor. So, kind of gaming this out a little bit, what are you going to do when you have an abundance of no-shows after the appointments have been made? Kind of like you go to a doctor's office, a dentist appointment, no-show. They charge you or they send you a nasty letter. How are you going to treat the no-shows?
So coincidentally, Councilor, that was the email that I got from Rhode Island, was that you will see an uptick in no-shows. That is one of the byproducts of it. What they do in Rhode Island is they offer more appointments. I mean, we're just starting out with this. We would offer more appointments to cover that. The other thing is not everybody's going to have an appointment before they come into the DMV. So I think what's going to happen is you're still going to have a lot of, if you will, walk-ins that we would like when they get there to make a same-day appointment. So those no-shows will be filled up by people who are still coming in that need an appointment that day. We're going to have those to offer. So that Manchester example that I gave, thankfully, with no-shows, we won't run into a scenario where we have to offer Salem or somewhere else, because we will have had some no-shows in Manchester that will accommodate those that are coming in without an appointment.
Just to close this out, we're going to continue to monitor this, like anything we do. We'll look at the metrics, we'll look at the numbers, and see if it's accomplishing what we plan on, and we will continue to keep a close eye on it.
Well, I'm not going to close it out right yet, Governor. I have another question if possible.
Go ahead.
So everything is situational in life. You know, you have a young teenager, they forgot their license expired, and oh, geez, I got to get down to the DMV. Oh, I got to set up an appointment, but I can't do it until next week. Oh, I'll probably get pulled over and get arrested. It's like a passport. If anybody walks around with a passport, they don't know their expiration date for the most part. And then all of a sudden they've got to go on an international trip and they say, oh my God, my passport just expired and I got to get on an international flight next week. So they go running down to a special service that provides, 24-hour turnaround. What are you going to do for that young teenager that is kind of clueless, that needs to get a license right away so they don't pull over?
So if you read between the lines, what we're trying to do is, with our appointment-based plan, changing, a culture, we're going to leave times available in there, embedded for them, and they will get treated, they'll get service. So in other words, we don't just have this booked, completely. We're going to have times in there which we plan, whether it's some of the cancels, but John, throughout that day, that 7.5 hour day, whatever it is, there are going to be times in there for these unanticipated urgencies, emergencies. We know that's going to happen. We know it's not a perfect system, and we will have that availability in all locations.
If I could, Commissioner. So, sir, one of the things that looking at this program is going to do is also it gives for each employee a certain number of transactions that they'll be responsible for in a given day, which we know that they can meet. So that's good for accountability. But on top of that, our employees are so agile, they're so proficient in what they do. They're the ones asking the questions about the appointment-based system. Well, what if somebody comes in that we really need to help? And the answer right from the beginning has been, make it happen. Make it happen. So for the young person that you're talking about that comes in, they're going to leave there and we're going to get them over the finish line. Because for the number of transactions that are allotted per day, per employee, they can do even more than that. So we're not going to be turning people away, and especially in those urgent scenarios. The most that would ever be asking, is it possible to go to another location 15 minutes from here? Because we have availability there. That's really the most that we're ever going to ask for, but we're going to get it done.
Without this system, that person might not get assistance. We don't want to make this like waiting in line for a concert ticket. We want to make it so that we're driving it, it's coordinated, and that's what we were dealing with in the past. And that's why we're getting bad complaints, because of long lines, no planning, and so I think this is a good plan, a good process. But as I said, we're going to watch it closely.
So what I do like, and I think Commissioner and Director you mentioned, is that you'll give more business to Gorham, DMV, because there'll be openings there, because it's fairly slow up there. The people from Manchester will get to visit Claus County, find out how beautiful it is, and they might want to move there.
Well, listen, I went to every DMV location, and there's a different atmosphere, there's a different pace in each one, and what we want to do is spread it around. There's state dollars going to these leases. We've got these counters that we want to utilize fairly, and we want to strategically make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck in all these locations, whether it's Gorham down the east side, Gorham, Hamlet, Dover, and give people options.
Councilor Wheeler.
I noticed you didn't mention North Haverhill.
North
Just
Haverhill.
teasing. I'm glad to hear that you have plans to monitor the situation and to make correction. We can adjust things as necessary. I'm glad to hear there's a plan for a safety valve to allow for some emergency or urgent same-day walk-ins as necessary. I just would encourage you to see, I think DMV is one of the most significant customer service enterprises in our state. Executive councilors are also in the customer service business, and I would encourage you to see us as, as potential allies when you are rolling out large operational changes. If we understand them better, then we can also help our constituents understand them better and ease the conflict or the tension that can come sometimes when changes happen. So thank you very much for giving us more information about this, and I look forward to seeing how it unfolds.
Thank you all.
Any further discussion? Councilor Stephen?
I had two different issues.
Yeah, can I just mention on this issue briefly while we're on it? I want to thank Director Marasco and I want to thank Commissioner Quinn, because one of the discussions that I've had with both of them, and especially Director Marasco, is understanding that this is a big place where most people interact with government, and I want them to be more customer friendly. And so, to the credit of both those leaders, they said, how can we be better? And I think that's what this is all about. And I really appreciate I had the opportunity to meet many of the DMV employees, and they have a great meeting that they have on Columbus Day, where the team building was unbelievable to have everyone there. And I know one of the things that the director did is that he didn't it wasn't a top-down process, like he engaged his employees before this went out, which I think is going to be helpful in how it's implemented. Of course, we're going to keep our eye on it, but I want to commend them for really thinking about how do we serve people better on this one. And then, Councilor Stephen?
Thank you, Governor. And also, there's a McKinsey study in 2023 that actually I shared with the director that surveyed every state, 17,000 people, and said, what is the one thing that would help you show approval for your state government in general, and actually increase the governor's approval ratings.
All right, I love it.
DMV. Yes, sir. I have two questions. 49 first, Commissioner. And this is just maybe not a question, but I want to make sure I got this right. I like this item. It's hearings examiner, but you're not doing a hearing exam. It's a prosecutor,
That's their
right?
title. That's what the new,
retitling.
This has been, we've done this for years, so we use an Office of Highway Safety to hire a prosecutor to prosecute impaired driving cases.
Gotcha. Love it. So my question then is Troop A and Troop B, but are the other troop stations getting the benefit of a prosecutor federally funded?
Absolutely. What we have funded in the state budget and with highway safety, our plan is to have 2 at A, 2 at B, 2 at D, 1 at C. We have a part-time at E and 1 at F.
Super. And to move things along, 52, when we discussed, Councilor Kenny and I worked hard with your department on the J1 issues after the Berlin homicide, and we talked about extending J1. I read this item, I want to make sure I get this right. This is actually extending J1 to more departments in the state, furthering your vision. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And honestly, this comes with the support of the Attorney General's office. If you look at 52 and 56, we've got options and opportunities to increase the visibility on the state message platform, which gets us all connected, which we commonly refer to as J1.
And just my final on this is that it's 10 departments. What is holding up the other 20 or so that don't want laptops in their cruisers or what?
Well, no, and there's 24 right now that have one records management system. Assistant Commissioner LaVoy, we have a cost, and the cost is to connect. So it's connectivity from the patrol car through their records management to our gateway. So it's connectivity. That will happen. We're working on that. We got a cost, we got a price, we got the funding. The other might be as simple as they're trying to, support a records management system. It all comes down to cost, but really the 24, the 11, we're getting close. And, quite honestly, working with the governor's office and the chiefs of police and just explaining the importance of this, to have the ability to receive a domestic violence petition, print it, serve it, and then respond back to the courts. And we're working closely with.
And all of that can be done in the cruiser. So that's what I like about this item, and just keep pushing.
I get it first to the courts, to the AG's office, and.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any further questions for the Commissioner? Hearing none, all in favor of items 47 through 55 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carried. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 56 and 57 from the Department of Justice.
Second?
Any discussion of these items? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carried. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 58 from the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of the Commissioner.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Stephen.
Commissioner, my question on this item is more about, I know I sent you an email on the error rate, and I really feel that's an important issue for all the councilors here to know about as well. And this is the SNAP error rate from the state, and the way I understand this item will help us improve that error rate, because we're at about 8% right now, and if we're not at 5%, there's going to be penalties. And I looked at it, and if we don't fix this issue quickly, we're probably looking at $7 to $8 million general fund loss once we get to fiscal 28. Is that correct? Am I looking at this item as really helping us in that area?
So I will say that you're correct in terms of there is going to be changes regarding our error rates, and that is going to impact us in the subsequent fiscal year. This item is not directly tied to that.
Okay.
So I can have Meredith explain how
Yeah,
this
I'd like to know.
or indirectly ties it.
Yeah, my concern, Meredith, is when I look at where we are today, 8%, and I see that we have to be at 5%, they're going to look at fiscal 26, 27, and we're already in 4 months of this quarter. We're in trouble as far as New Hampshire is concerned, and we're going to lose significantly general fund if we don't correct our overpayment and our underpayment. And I see our underpayments are worse than our overpayment rates. So we're not giving enough to some of these people that need it after they do their audits. So that's obviously there's some stuff the commissioners give me that you guys are really focused, lazily focused on trying to fix that. So I'm reading this as helping you with those verifications electronically, and I know Equifax does a great job. Because I want to ask you, is $61,000 enough to help us keep from losing $7.5 to $8 million a year in general fund?
Thank you for the question, Councilor. For the record, Meredith Kellus, Director of the Division of Program Quality and Integrity for DHHS. This item is only to accept federal funds so that we can cover the Equifax system. We're currently using the system though. So we're already doing this. We are already using the system for these purposes. If we didn't accept these funds, we would have to find general funds to use this. So this alone does not change our business practices, but it lets us use federal funds.
Appreciate that. One follow-up quick. That I understand it's accepting funds. It's fiscal item 2. Question is, are we asking for enough here to help us protect us from that loss?
Yes,
as part of your plan.
This will cover our needs.
Okay.
Yes, our annual needs.
That was my only question on that item. And I don't have any other questions.
Okay, any other questions on this item? Hearing none, all in favor of item 58 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 59 from the Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Medicaid Services.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Wheeler.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I was talking about recidivism earlier, and I understand that the number one contributing factor, the top contributing factors in New Hampshire related to recidivism are mental health and substance use disorder, and accessing health care is the number one solution to bring that down, our recidivism down. This contract is $1 million from centers for Medicare and Medicaid services to fund the community reentry program, which is targeted specifically to that. I think the question that I have is, are we in a position, is this the full amount that we are eligible for, and are we in a position to draw down everything that we're eligible for?
Sure, Member, you can answer that.
Thank you for the question, Councilor, and for the record, Medicaid Director. This is the first year of a grant that we could draw up to $4.6 million, assuming we perform the grant.
And like Councilor Stephen was talking about earlier, there are changes coming. The error rate may affect our ability to draw down funds related to SNAP, for example. Are there things that we need to be putting in place now to make sure that we will be able to draw down the full $4.6 million? Are we in a position to expect that we will be able to draw down that full amount, or are there things that we need to be addressing now to position ourselves better for the future?
I think our first key thing was to get through the acceptance process, in which this is part of. And so one of the things that we hear from the grants office at CMS is making sure that you're spending what you're eligible for timely. If not, we want to give it to another state that has issues. So we're fully engaged to make sure we don't leave money on the table for that reason.
Mm-hmm. Good, thank you. And I have another question related to Medicaid. November 1st is not just the deadline for SNAP benefits to be lost. It also is the deadline for some of the impacts from OBA, the one big beautiful budget act that was passed in DC, for some of those provisions to go into effect. And we're seeing reports that healthcare premiums are going to go up significantly. People in New Hampshire who are receiving insurance through the exchanges may lose coverage, and premiums are expected to go up. I saw a report that a couple making $90,000 a year might see their premiums go up around $14,000 or $16,000 a year, which is a huge increase. I know this is not an insurance question. My question is, what are the consequences to the potential loss of coverage for tens of thousands of people in New Hampshire in the coming year? How could that affect Medicaid and people in New Hampshire?
I think that when we think about our safety net providers more, if it creates more stress for uncompensated care, that they have to manage their care mix to survive. So the concern I would have is in uncompensated care costs under our what we pay in uncompensated care costs, but also in terms of our providers' ability to have as open access as they have today.
So we could be seeing increasing uncompensated care costs, which the hospitals and other providers then have to pass on to someone. So other people may be paying more as a result of, in the context of looking at health insurance rates already increasing.
As a Medicaid director, my biggest concern, and there are reasons to have other concerns, but is really the access issue and the ability to serve the people that we cover in the program. I think it just lifts up the importance of the rural healthcare transition program that we're all working through to help. And so, that's in terms of trying to work on sustainability and strengthening rural healthcare. This is really important, coming at a really important time.
Yeah. Councilor Stephen.
Director, this goes back to the item. I want to compliment you and the commissioner because I read this, and correct me if I'm wrong, I have tried to ask you to look into not hiring consultants when you can hire state employees. And I'm looking at this, you're hiring a project manager for this waiver. You're hiring someone that can actually do eligibility checks. And those are going to be state employees. And I want to commend you if I'm accurate there.
You are accurate. They're temporary positions.
And they could be temporary for the 4-year grant or the amount of funding from the federal.
Yes.
It's not a general fund, but we're going to be hiring people from New Hampshire to administer this program.
Correct.
Thank you for that. Second, I want to talk about this reentry issue really briefly here and make sure my mind is correct on the actual waiver. So I understand that we're really trying to maneuver here to help people start to get onto Medicaid when they're transitioning to the community, because incarcerated, federal law doesn't allow federal Medicaid dollars, and so general fund's paying all the freight for those that go into the prison. So I commend you for that, to get this done early. What are we doing today, Director? Someone gets into, there's a 5-year state prison sentence today, and they're on Medicaid, and they go into the prison on day 1. When are we finding out that they're no longer, or are we, that they're no longer eligible? Are we still paying the 3 MCOs the Medicaid general fund match? How do we find out?
So in terms of before we received the grant, because the key part of this grant is to help us get it out to the counties, we've already worked to implement it at the state facility. So we work very closely. The MCOs in the community reentry program are actually part of the equation. Their care managers are providing the care management transition between the care managers that are in the prison system. So in terms of making sure 45 days prior to release for the adults, that we've got all those things coordinated so we can identify and recover if there's been an issue. But the thing that it also does is for the state budget, that, as you were correct in saying, that generally Medicaid can't pay for things behind the wall, but what we are able to pay for because of the 1115 waiver is for the beginning of getting them connected to either mental health or substance use disorder services. We can pay for some of the drugs during the stay that are related to the mental health and substance use disorder, and then on discharge, rather than state having to provide the prescription drug, we can, Medicaid can cover it, so that's reducing the general fund burden on the state as well. And more importantly is making sure that things are set up so they can succeed when they leave and not have the recidivism. The youth program is a little bit different by federal statute. I know we're kind of leaking out here, but I can cover that another time.
No, I understand. My issue is, though, when you're now working with the counties, which is great, we're now bringing the county system into this issue. I think I have a concern that not on this particular reentry, but going in, because of what you mentioned here, that general fund now has to pay for all the medical costs when they're inside that prison. And that includes the county, the 10 counties. So are there individuals today, prisoners, that are in the counties, sitting in the counties, getting medical attention that the general fund is paying for, and that your department is also paying the MCOs?
If that were to happen, we recover that.
But how do you find out that that's happening?
We have interaction with them to identify these issues. And you know, the one thing about this program, it's only adjudicated or sentenced people are eligible for the adult reentry program. But in terms of working with our program integrity team and looking at it, it's not a perfect system, right? Because someone doesn't disclose what's going on. But I feel like we're on top of that issue.
And my point here is, I like where you're going. I think when you start to work with the counties, I would ask you to look at if there are currently, because I feel strongly there are, prisoners that are in the county system that is being paid by the general fund for medical, while at the same time you're paying a monthly cost to the MCOs. And can we find a way to work together at the county level to stop that waste of general fund dollars? That's all.
I'm not sure it's really happening today, but we'll strengthen our process by implementing
I
this.
appreciate that. You're going to look into it.
Yep.
Because other states have had real issues on that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions about item 559? Councilor Stevens.
I just want to commend the department in going after these dollars. We know that it was a collaboration with Dr. Carrie Cola, a brilliant health economist at Adjournment, who really helped get these dollars, correct?
Correct.
Great.
Thank you.
Well done, team.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion on item 59, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. We move on to, I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 60 to 62 from the Department of Health and Human Services Division of Public Health. Any discussion of these items? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carry. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 63 and 64 from the Department of Health and Human Services, New Hampshire Hospital.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. The items carry. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 65 through 67 from the Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Behavioral Health.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Stevens.
On number 66, Commissioner, I understand this program is it's been running for a while, it's run well, and I looked at the item. But what struck me here is, what I'm concerned about is the statement here about where the funds are gonna come from.
Well, and let me speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, might help my understanding.
Just so you know, the item originally contained that it would all come from 100% general funds. I've been a very strong supporter of the recovery-friendly workplace. I was glad it got added back into, this budget, given the difficult, challenging cycle, because it has had an impact of public-private partnership on getting people who are in recovery back in the workplace, keeping them healthy, keeping them recovered. It's great. Had a chance to visit some of those organizations. So I asked the question, given that it was all general funds, we have an opioid abatement fund that has significant funding in it. Was there a way to use that fund to fund this portion so we could save $1 million in general fund? So we talked to the Attorney General's office, we talked to the Commission, and they believe it fits this $1 million of this amount that has been allocated by the state does qualify. And so we are going to be asking the Opioid Abatement Trust, the Commission, to approve that. And if for some reason the Commission doesn't approve it, then we would go back to the general fund piece. But this is my way of trying to make sure that we're using the opioid abatement fund properly, but that we're also saving $1 million in general funds.
So, Governor, thank you. That's exactly where I was going. So when it says we're going to be requesting approval, what then can this body do to make sure they approve it?
Well, what you can do and help me on this is, and help all of us, but this was my idea, is to basically approve, when you approve the item, say that you support it and you think it's appropriate, because I do think it's really appropriate. It's right in the lane. The recovery can be from other things, but we're only funding a portion of that from this. That's only that $1 million. So I just think your support behind it would be helpful going to the Opioid Abatement Commission.
And if I may, the committee's meeting on Monday to vote on 11.3 to review this item.
If we can represent that you support it, that's terrific.
And I absolutely support it. And when I saw that statement about requesting approval, I want to know what the process was. Now I know. So I'm gonna support this item with, at least maybe you can mention to the committee that at least myself, and I'm hoping the other councilors want them to seriously consider the impact that we're having on the general fund as well, and to help our state situation. And also, these funds are directly related to the opioid abatement. So, Governor, thank you for your leadership in maximizing funding here. So, thank you. I am going to support it, but I'm hoping you relay that message.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Stevens.
Thank you, Governor. It ties in perfectly with RSA 126. There are 8 elements or 8 categories of funding for eligibility: provide employment, training, or educational services for persons in treatment or in recovery. So there you go.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Councilor.
I also want to if I forgot to mention United Way, and I've been in conversations with them, and they've stepped up when Governor Sununu started this to do the project management, and they've done a wonderful job. So they haven't been paid on this for a while.
That's right.
And so this is very important.
That's why we're moving on it, and that's why Monday we'll present it.
Yeah, it's set up so that if you approve it and they approve it on Monday, we're good to go.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor of items 65 through 67 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carried. I ask for a motion to remove tabled item 70 from the Department of Health and Human Services Division for Children, Youth, and Families.
Oh, sorry.
In other words, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Oh, no, I've gotta remove, first of all, I need approval, to remove it from the table, so if I can translate your motion in the second to and all in favor of removing the item from the table?
Aye.
Is there a motion to discuss?
So
Second.
we're doing 70, 71, and, 70, 72, and 74, is that right?
I had only asked for a motion right now on 70, but
Okay.
so I'll just do that separately, the other two, so. So on 70, all in favor of discussing the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any discussion on item 70? Hearing none, all in favor of item 70 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That item passes, and now I will move to ask for a motion to remove tabled items 72 and 74 from the Department of Health and Human Services Division for Behavioral Health.
So
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of moving it from the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's removed from the table. Is there a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion to discuss signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion to discuss passes. Is there any discussion on these items? Hearing none, all in favor of tabled items 72 and 74 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carried. Thank you. And now we have already addressed obviously late items B and C up front in the meeting, so now we will move on to the motion to adopt agenda items 68 through 78 from the Department of Administrative Services.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Stevens.
Joyce.
Good afternoon, and thank you for speaking with me. To begin, agenda item 72, this is a $3 million amendment to the state retiree Medicare Advantage program with the prescription drug program for the remaining third year. We're seeing a 35% increase per member per month. This is a 31% increase for the retirees and their contributions. And again, it's one of my pet peeves, one of the contracts I'm very critical of. But when we entered this contract in June 2023, we were told at the time that using the system of Medicare Advantage going from 2019 onwards, our savings were going to be $59.5 million. Are we still saving money with this increase?
Joyce Pittman, Director of Risk and Benefits for DAS. So you're referring back to 2019, that was when we originally went to a Medicare Advantage plan with MA only. So that switched us from a self-funded medical plan to a fully insured medical plan. We still maintained our pharmacy benefits under a self-funded Express Scripts contract for what we called an employer group waiver plan, or EGWP, lots of acronyms in healthcare, which is essentially a Part D plan. 2019 and 20 were under the Anthem contract. We went out to bid for 21, 22, and 23. We went with, just to give everyone history, because I was going to reframe it, the savings that we had in 2019 were just shifting to the fully insured on the medical side. The pharmacy savings were still, those costs were still there. In 2021, 22, and 23, we went out to bid and we contracted with Aetna for our medical-only Medicare Advantage program. And there were additional savings there on the medical side because they charge us a zero premium for the medical portion of the MA program. So that was where we were attaining our savings, just by not having that admin fee, still having a self-funded prescription drug plan. We then went back out to bid. We did 2 different scenarios, and we ended up going with an MAPD plan for 2024, 25, and 26, which is the contract that we're amending today. So to answer your question, I just wanted to get everybody all on the same page. Yes, it's still a position for the state to be in a fully insured arrangement. The difference being now it's medical and pharmacy, and we're experiencing savings there.
Just a follow-up, we know every March CMS will issue a call letter which stipulates how Medicare Advantage plans are reimbursed by CMS. Those reimbursement numbers are going down, correct?
I don't want to say correct that. It's changing the way CMS is reimbursing the insurance companies that participate in these programs. So I don't want to say a blanket yes, because there are some areas where their reimbursements are going up, and there are others where they're tightening up. I think the federal government is learning really how Medicare Advantage programs are working, finding little loopholes, tightening them up. I think that's what you're referring to, is that tightening of, okay, that wasn't an unintended consequence, we're going to change the legislation. The change in costs that you're seeing in this amendment are related to the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. And you may recall a term called the donut hole, which is on the prescription drug side. The federal government has been working on closing that donut hole, which translates into savings for the members' out-of-pocket costs. And then with this Reduction Act, they've actually shifted it. They had a blend of shipping costs over to the drug manufacturers. That's kind of weaning off, and now the costs are going back onto the carriers. Still not the members, which is a good thing if you're a member. If you're a carrier, your costs are going up, AKA your reimbursement rates for the federal government are going down on the prescription drug side. And that is why you're seeing, that happened in 2025 for most plans in the country. We experienced a rather turbulent implementation, I'll say, for our Medicare Advantage prescription drug program in 2024. So Anthem basically said we're going to waive any kind of premium increase in 2025, but now we're at the point where we're experiencing that increase for 2026.
And just about, this is contingent on CMS reimbursement methodology, so there's still, we also have agenda item 68, which is $12.8 million to accept and expend for retiree health benefits from the retiree health benefits reserve account for anticipated increase in health insurance through 6/30/27. And I just want to state, a statement from our state insurance commissioner. From what I'm observing, the Medicare Advantage market, as it exists today, is collapsing. That the court said at the meeting. We know individual plans are disintegrating. Harvard Pilgrim Health pulled out, WellCare pulled out. Humana and Aetna have reduced their offerings in this state. But you still say full steam ahead.
Let me address that. I think the insurance commissioner was speaking differently.
To individual markets.
Yeah, and I think, I want to say that because a lot of people heard that statement and didn't hear him say individual market.
Right.
And it's possible that the individual market is collapsing, I don't know that. And it is certainly true that some people are pulling out of the individual market. We're not in that. We're not part of that. And I say that out loud so everybody can hear because a lot of our retirees have occasionally been confused by that because they heard that statement and they're like, oh my God, what's happening? And you want to go, it's not about us. It's not, ignore the man behind the curtain. And because the group market is not collapsing and nothing's happening there. So that is not related, but thank you so much for bringing it up because it's scary for people who don't know that detail, which is key. I just want to point out the item 68 is what we're actually doing is correcting a budget or in the budget process. that happen, where we're using a portion of the reserves that come from going to self-insured, or going to fully insured from self-insured. And it reduced the general fund requirement for the state, but in the budget document itself, and it won't shock you that a 120,000 byte or whatever document has occasional errors in it, they left out that line. And the other lines are all right, and we kind of went fiscal and went, hey, you forgot this one line.
Great, thank you. Councilor Wheeler.
On agenda item 68, thank you for clarifying the general funds are not affected here. Is it correct that state retirees, that there's cost sharing with state retirees?
Yeah, since about 2017, I mean, for under 65 retirees, it's been longer than that. But starting in 2017, there's been some cost sharing, a small cost sharing, but with over 65 retirees as well, yes.
And so it looks like, if we're looking at $12 million over this biennium, it's something like between an 8 and a 9% increase to the state. Are the retirees also looking at that percent increase in premium?
Because they pay, I believe it's 10% of the premium, the costs go up, costs go down, they share proportionally in that. In this case, what we're doing is because of the significant, when you're a self-insured plan and for other people, Secretary Scanlon talked about this a little bit, but when you're a self-insured plan, there are reserve requirements, and ours in statute are very, very different than maybe some of the other ones have, but when you're fully insured, there isn't, because you're not guarding against premium, you're like, here's the premium, and it's on them. But because of that, there is a reserve built up, and the state may not convert that reserve to any use whatsoever. It has to be used for the retirees, so that the people from whom or for whom it was collected, depending on which fund source. And so what we're doing is trying to use it to sort of, I don't want to say smooth out, but to sort of rationalize the increases in healthcare, which are problematic. And what we want to try to avoid are cliffs. Suddenly we're like, oh, it's $100 this year, and it's like $8,000 next year. You don't want these dramatic, like, boom, happening. And so what we're trying to do is sort that out. And in the budget process, after a lot of debate in the House and then some in the Senate went along too, there was this discussion. And the idea was to try to reduce the general fund impact, but more than that, reduce the retiree impact, the cost of health care on the retirees, so that the program is sustainable.
So in this particular case, this is not being shared. This $12 million does not mean there's going to be a concurrent increase in premiums for the retirees.
It's not being shifted in any way. No.
Thank you.
Councilor Stevens.
Just to follow up that, the increase to the members' contributions are going from $16, I think, and 75 cents to $22 per month. So they are getting hit with an increase.
We all are, yeah. And it's what I'm saying is that the $6 million is not being shifted to them.
Right.
Everyone's seeing an increase,
right.
And the idea is to try to minimize that increase that everyone sees.
But they are getting hit with an increase.
Yes.
Thank you.
25%.
It's 31.
Oh, thank you.
31%.
Councilor Stevens.
Just generally speaking, though, am I correct in believing that this contract generally is providing savings to the state compared to market averages? And secondly, this does not impact the plans leaving Medicare Advantage for individual. And Anthem is fully vested in helping the state and moving forward. Am I correct in those two assumptions?
You are, absolutely.
Thank you.
If there's no further, Councilor Wheeler.
Thank you, Governor. Item 78, which is our meeting schedule. I've had three different rationales, three different concerns from different councilors brought to me that they want some changes to the schedule.
Okay, we can
And
hold the schedule, that's fine.
I don't think the process allows to hold the schedule, because we can't
Or
amend
we
it.
can table it, couldn't we? It's
I
already
think we're gonna
done.
have to kill it, because we can't amend it. It's not an amendable item, so, but could we, I don't think we can table it, because ultimately we can't amend
Well, how
it.
about this, I'll just withdraw it.
That'd be great. And then
We'll keep it
we'll
simple,
talk between
and then
now
we'll
and the
talk,
next meeting,
And then I can offer a new one, because obviously working, my schedule, your schedules,
that would be great.
that's fine.
That'd be great. We'll get our heads together between the next meeting and come
Okay.
up with a new one.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's fine, I'll just withdraw it,
Awesome.
so that makes that simple, okay? Councilor Wheeler.
Thank you, and I'll just offer, while we're here, that one concern that I had was, a single meeting scheduled for June, just thinking back to this year.
Why don't we have that discussion offline and figure it out? And, I understand the concern, and I can tell you what my hope is there, because I have, personal things happening too with my children that I'd like to talk about.
I think if I want to say something on the record, I would love to say something.
Yeah,
on
go
the
for
record.
it, so I'm just saying, we're gonna have this discussion and figure it out offline, it's a schedule.
Which is fine, but it's not in the public eye. So I'm just gonna say what I have to say, and you can take it into consideration as you wish, but I'm going to say that based on what happened in June, where we had billions of dollars in contracts that got stacked up onto almost the last day of the state's fiscal year, that I think it would be prudent to at least have a contingency plan. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, thank you. We can have further discussions about that, so having removed item 78 from the table, all in favor of items 68 through 77, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Councilor Kenny,
Can I ask the Commissioner of Administrative Services a question?
after the items are passed?
No, it's kind of, it's really, I'm not sure if he's the right commissioner, but since he was the last
I'm gonna be wrong.
But you're all knowing, so I figured you'd be the best commissioner I might ask, but apparently yesterday, the State Liquor Commission released the RFP for the I-95 West Stop, and I guess they're calling it request for qualification, request for proposal. My question is, I know your department's going to be one of the scoring members, but are you familiar with this RFP?
No.
So I'm asking the wrong commissioner.
Indeed you are.
I think the liquor commissioner is the right one to ask.
Okay, so can I just inform the council a little bit? I'm not going to go into any detail, because I looked at the 126-page request for qualification proposal, and there's a lot that the council really should understand what's going on in that particular RFP, and it might be good that if we had a breakfast meeting, that we might, look at it, because there, for instance, fixed rents, percentage rents, fuel rents, electric vehicle charging rent. It doesn't really spell it out in the actual RFP. And so there are a lot of moving pieces with this RFP that I think the council needs to be aware of. I mean, you're gonna read it, but it'd be nice to understand how we got here and what's actually happening within the context of the RFP. That's all I wanted to mention.
I'm happy to take that under advisement. We need to do that in the context of not breaking any of the contracting rules now that an RFP has been issued, in terms of, because people are gonna put proposals, so let me figure out how that is done, because the last thing I want is to not put us in a position where this thing is done properly and fully, and so I appreciate it, so let us sort that out.
Okay, thank you, Governor.
Councilor Stevens.
Having spent a day and a half reading every line of that 126-page RFP, there's a lot to it, and I do want to stress and emphasize that the town of Hampton was engaged with meetings with the governor and I and Commissioner Mulligan, the Department of Justice, and again, to the governor's point, to not discuss in greater detail, it's gone live. and let's get the best deal we can for the state. These are valuable assets. The top performing liquor stores are there. Onwards.
I would just like to echo what Councilor Stevens said, get the best value for the state, not any one town, but the state.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I pulled it originally. It's now a lease. It's not a sale. I think that it's a combination RFP actually. It's not just an RFQ. It's both. And it's also, we had a model to follow from, which was Hooksett, but obviously needed to be updated for the particular area and make sure that they're using that as a model. So in terms of rent and all those things. But what I want to make sure is that everyone knows it's out there, because we want to have as many bidders as possible that can qualify to bid on this. That would be the best thing for the state, to have it open, everyone know that it's out there, and the more opportunities that the people who are on the evaluation committee, and the evaluation committee is members of the state government, not outsiders, to make the decision, and so I think it's going to be a good thing.
And I just want to add that, within this document, you'll see collaborating, working with the town of Hampton, which is critical, and you'll see that language.
Yeah, and that's because there's issues like water and other impacts on the community that are important.
Water and wastewater, and there are benefits to the town.
Well, again, I'm representing the state, but for instance, Governor, you mentioned a lot of people that are going to bid on this potentially.
Well, we hope so.
On this
I
proposal.
don't know who's going to bid.
But then it says they're going to whittle it down to 5 pre-qualified developers and operators. So whatever we get, it's going to shrink down to 5. So I guess I'm just going to, I've got a lot of notes because I read that whole document. And so I'm just curious. So I guess what I ask my question to the Attorney General.
I think that would probably be best to make sure that we, because I will tell you that that my understanding is that in the end, I don't even know if there were 5 bidders in the end last time. I hope to have more bidders this time. So there were bidders, but the way this is drafted is, I think, an opportunity for more bidders. And that is a good thing for the state of New Hampshire.
Well, Governor, I know whoever the winning bidder is going to have apples in apple products, apple cider donuts, maple products, and seafood. And seafood. So.
Those are just, yeah. By the way, those are just examples of New Hampshire products. They don't have to have those. Those are just, we want a New Hampshire solution and not a New Jersey solution, with all due respect. As you know, I feel strongly about that.
I'll tell Governor Christie that, okay.
Governor Christie can fight for New Jersey. I'm here to fight for New Hampshire. Anyway. Oh, we have 2 more. I thought I was done. See, I was ready to get out of here. There you go.
That's right.
We got more?
We have more. We missed 2.
DAS.
We have 2 DAS. Plus, I didn't close the meeting. We just got.
Sidetracked.
We need a vote. So, these standards and training council. Wait, I just want to clarify. We had a vote on that. Yes. All right. Okay, so. So we actually have an item, I believe, from Police Standards and Training Council. Let me just catch up with that here.
Yep.
I'm sure that the director would like to actually have us act on that after he sat through the entire meeting and has been very patient here. So we very much appreciate it. So let me just find that in my notes here. Okay. I asked for a motion. First of all, we do have one other item too, with one from DAS that's tabled. So ask for a motion to remove item 82 from the Department of Administrative Services from the table.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor of removing the item?
Aye.
Is there a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of discussion?
Aye.
Okay, is there any discussion on table item 82? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that item carries, and now we will go to the ever-patient Police Standards and Training Council. Is there a motion to remove table item 63 from the table?
Move. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, all in favor of the table motion first, I thought it was. Are we all, everyone indicate whether you're in favor of the table motion?
Untabling. Yes.
The motion to remove it from the table, excuse me.
Aye.
Aye. Is there a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor of discussion?
Aye.
And is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of item 63 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. And so we digress. Is there any other business to come before the executive council today?
Cover.
I'm gonna get Councilor Stevens and I'll get you to end here, Councilor Wheeler.
In regards to table item 50, which was the contract with Michael Quinn, I was going to try to retrieve an email explaining his insurance coverage, or did we?
I think we tabled it and there didn't seem.
There's no table, okay.
We can bring it up, I think we can bring it up the next meeting.
Okay, I don't know whether we're going to try to bring it back.
Yeah,
this
very
meeting, but
good.
we can wait, because I can't get the email.
Well, that sounds great. I think we'll, the commissioner said he would talk to Mr. Quinn and then about the insurance issue and then bring, if the information is sufficient, bring it back to the council. Great, thank you. Councilor Wheeler.
Governor, just an announcement for the council. We have a scheduled non-meeting today with the Attorney General's office after this meeting. So what is the council's pleasure? Do we eat first and then do it? Do we do it now or do we reschedule it?
I would just assume do it
I
now
would go
and do it
immediately.
briefly.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now
And Governor, I just wanted to thank you for pushing up the SNAP contract, because I calculated 1:15 before we got the DHHS contracts with another 20-minute discussion. It would have put us at about 1:35 before we even took up those late items. And that gave the food bank all that much more time to implement what they're trying to do. So I appreciate that.
That was a great call. I appreciate it. And this Governor and Council meeting is officially concluded. I think